Hi guys, welcome to Veteran State of Mind. I've got a bit of housekeeping to go into before we get into it, but don't skip. Don't you dare skip. This is all very important. First point of order, if that's the correct term, is that finally got decent internet up where I live, which means that going forward, when we're doing recordings for the podcast, we'll be able to do video, if that's something that you are into. So we do have a few episodes already recorded and in the bank, which are going to be audio only. I think off the top of my head, it'll probably be around end of March. We'll start doing video episodes as well. So I'll keep you posted on where to see those. But yeah, going forwards, video episodes as well as audio. All right, second point is that I want to say a big thank you to everyone who is coming down to Aces High Gallery down in Oxfordshire. This Sunday, the 8th of Feb, we're going to be talking soldier stories from the Battle of Germany, 1945. I'm really looking forward to seeing some of you guys there. Thanks for everyone who's been in touch to say that you are coming down. England are playing Wales on the Sunday, so I imagine that'll probably have a lot to do with what my moods are like. So go easy on me if we got an absolute tonkin. If you're interested in joining us, guys, there are some tickets still available. You can grab those from a link down in the show notes as well. You know how it goes. If I tell you anything at the beginning of this, it's usually down in the show notes. Which brings us on to point 3. Today's guest, Stephen Schwartz, 2nd Royal Tank Regiment, served in Iraq and Afghanistan. Stephen has put a book out this weekend, so it's hot off on the press. You can get that in the show notes. And also, let me get on the internet quickly here. Steve's also part of the Muster Point, which is veteran support in Hertfordshire. They've got all sorts of stuff going now, guys, like community project for veterans. There's veterans from all different generations there. Stephen's going to talk about it himself in the podcast. But when you've listened to that, if you're living in the area and you want to get involved, there's a link down in the show notes. I mean, really, just make it SOP to just go down in the show notes, I suppose. Once you finish the episode, get down there. All those links you see down there, start clicking them. And you'd be doing me a massive solid. And the final thing that we ask, if you've enjoyed the episode, if you found it valuable, please share it with a friend. Hopefully see some of you on Sunday. Steve, welcome to the podcast, mate. Good to have you on. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me. Quite nervous.
Yeah, don't worry about that, mate. We've had Ginge on, Carl on. He set a good standard for the regiment, mate. Actually, it was a very good episode. So
yeah, he did. I've got to beat him.
Yeah. Yeah. Did he volunteer you for this?
He mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah. So well done, Carl. Cheers for that, mate.
Yeah, he's good, mate. Good bloke.
Yeah. Well, other than supporting Cardiff City, but there you go. Can't be first. I'm actually trying to get him up to Wrexham for the cup game. But anyway, I digress. Let's talk about war stories, mate. Let's talk about your journey into the service. Let's start with the basics. Where are you from, and did you have any kind of military influences in your life growing up?
Yeah, well, I grew up in North London. Quite a lot of military history in my family. So my dad was in the artillery. He was in the 40th Field Regiment Royal Artillery. His dad was in the Royal Signals. My mum's side, my granddad was in the Sherwood Foresters. Their great-granddads were in the Middlesex Regiment, Machine Gun Corps, the Royal Engineers, and the 13th Hussars. And then my great-great-great-granddad was in the Royal Navy. His rank was boy first class, and he fought in the Crimean War. He got shot at Sevastopol. They all survived. So I got quite a lot of, all my great-granddads were in the First World War, granddad in the Second World War, Crimean War, and they all survived. All got injured, but so quite lucky there.
Yeah,
I did try cadets when I was younger. I didn't really get on very well. I done it for about a year. I didn't like it. I learned a lot from it. It gave me a big head start with basic training, but I didn't enjoy it.
Did you find
army when I was a kid?
Right, and was that from like these military influences in your life, do you think?
No, I blame it on soldier. be quite good. Remember the telly series?
Yeah. Was that Robson and Giroux, was it?
Yes, yeah. I was was it Robson Green? I was a big fan of him. David Tucker. He was a bit of a plonker, but I always had camouflage on, whether it's a t-shirt, trousers, or whatever. My auntie, when I was a kid, she moved to Gosport near Portsmouth, and I used to spend summer holidays down there. And there's just army and navy everywhere, so I'd always come back with new combats or something. I was one of them weird kids who was always camouflaged. So yeah,
back in the days where kids would play in the woods, mate.
Definitely, yeah. Well, me and my mates, my best mate Brett, we used to bunk off school most of the time and just go and play over the woods, make bow and arrows, BB guns, air rifles, anything, fishing. Yeah, let the imagination grow wild.
Well, the ability to skive is a very important skill in the military, isn't it? So learn that at an early age, mate. Yeah. So what did you join? Did you join straight from school?
Pretty much, yeah. I was 16 when I joined. Went to the recruiting office at the Strand near Trafalgar Square. I wanted to join. I actually thought about joining the Navy. That was I don't know why. Army all my life, and then all of a sudden I wanted to join the Navy. But the Navy bloke was on his lunch break, so this big Grenadier Guardsman grabbed hold of me and went, "Come on, you'll join the Army." And I remember he put a VHS video on, and there was tanks, machine guns, 432s, helicopters, and I was like, "Yeah, I want to do that." So yeah, that got me hooked, and he wanted me to join the Guards, I believe, but I ended up joining the Royal Tank Regiment. I'd done my selection at Purbright, your 2 or 3 day selection. Started off, I remember it was because I was only 16, barely had hairs on my chest and or anywhere else, and I remember doing the medical, and this bloke and Ginge Cole would tell you this, he had the same sort of treatment because he was the same age. This old man sort of started molesting your genitals and playing with them, and then asking you if they're both there, if you've got 2 testicles and stuff like that, and then sort of squatting and walking around on the floor in front of him. Bit weird, but I got the green light to join up. So from there, I don't know when that was. I remember it was snowing, and then I think it was February the 16th. I started at ATR Bassingbourne, and that's where my life changed. Really, I really enjoyed it there.
What year was
this? A big culture shock. 2003. So February 2003. It was I remember the Iraq War stuff. The invasion was all getting ready. It hadn't started yet, but everyone knew it was going to happen. So I thought, no, I'm finished with training. I'm going to be straight out in the desert. But it didn't pan out that way. But I remember watching it all on the news. And when it was over so quick, really, when it's shock and awe. And then the fun really started.
And what about 9/11? Can you?
I was bunking off school with my mate Brett.
Can you remember 9/11?
Yeah, I can. We were bunking off and we heard all this commotion. So we went around his mum's house and watched it all on the telly, watched it live. And I kind of knew then that life was going to be different. I was 14, 15 years old. But yeah, I knew life wasn't going to be the same for us. That peaceful life we had before then. Or relatively peaceful.
Yeah. How'd you find training?
Tough, to be honest. Bassingbourne was an 18. Well, there was different courses he did. I did the 18-week course, which I think was the short one. I think the technical trades, the REME and the engineers, they could do a longer one. But we had a rank system, so you had a junior rank, junior lance corporal, corporal, and sergeant, and I got promoted to lance corporal and then corporal, but you got all the responsibility of a section commander. It was tough. One of the lads didn't perform. You got beasted for it. And it really got to me. After about 10 weeks, I just wanted to hand me ranking. And my best mates from school, his mum and dad actually moved near Bassingbourne. So one Saturday afternoon when you get a few hours off, I went round there for dinner and I was talking to his dad, who was a fireman. He'd been a fireman for about 30 years. And I had a chat with him and he just said, look, it's a game. Truly, it's a game that when you finish your training, you'll be having a beer together, your mates. He goes, they're just trying to break you. They're trying to get a reaction out of you. But that's it. And I remember someone else saying to me, they can't make you pregnant. So what's the worst they can do to you, sort of? But so I did. I went back and stuck it out. And to be fair, I did enjoy training. It was just quite tough. It was weird because I'd never met people from all over the country before. I grew up where I grew up, and everyone was from the same area. There was people different colours, but we was all born in the same area. Their parents might be from other countries, but it was weird meeting Scottish people, Welsh people, Irish people, Geordies. No, I enjoyed training. Done all the usual military training. Watched because Basing Ball's where they filmed
Full Metal Jacket. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was our treat on a Saturday afternoon. They'd take us to the cinema, and we'd watch that and get sick of it after a few weeks. Good
yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Like, they filmed it at Basingbourne. It's the reason I just looked it up the other day. I watched it the other day, mate. It's one of those I'll go watch every few years, every year. Yeah. And then they filmed the Vietnam scenes on like the Isle of Dogs in London, which is mental. Yeah. Like, you imagine what that'd be like seeing these helicopters coming in and out.
They filmed a lot of war films in the UK, didn't they? That is it Warzone, the new film in Iraq. That was filmed not far from me, actually.
Was it really? I had no idea.
Yeah, Bovingdon, I think it was. Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right, mate. So let me ask you then: when you're joining, like Iraq's, like you said, has already happened. What are your expectations, kind of, from service? Like, how long are you thinking you're going to join? How long are you thinking you're going to do as a career? Like, yeah, go on.
Yes. So I wanted to do 22 years. My plan was, because I was a big Ray Mears fan as well. So my plan was 22 years, get your pension, and go and live in the woods. Go and live in the wilderness somewhere. That's what I thought. But then I wasn't drinking at that time, so I didn't know much about life. A couple of years later, when I've tasted beer all around the world, it's a bit different. But my plan was to do 22 years.
And you're thinking you're going to get out on ops?
I knew you had the Balkans still going on. I know it was quieting down a bit, but it used to spike every now and again. Northern Ireland was still a thing. People still got a medal for Northern Ireland. I don't know what exact, probably the odd riot, but it wasn't like it used to be. But I thought I'd end up Northern Ireland, Balkans, and then actually I didn't think I'd be in Iraq. I thought Iraq was the war, and then that was it. I think that's what the politicians thought as well.
Did you ever expect that you'd see the kind of level of fighting that happened on Telic 10 and Herrick 10?
No way. I did not expect. For instance, like I know we'll talk about like the IDF on Telic 10 was like a World War II film, and then the kinetic side of it on Herrick 10, which was like a Vietnam film. I did not expect any of that.
All right. Well, I think we've wet people's whistles now, mate. So let's go into let me just ask you one more thing. Is what was it like as a young bloke joining the regiment for the first time?
I was 17 by the time I got to the regiment. I'd done my phase 2 training at Bovington, where you learn more map reading, you learn signals, you learn to drive a car if you haven't already done that, and then you learn to drive tanks and maintain tanks. I got to my regiment, and it was an eye opener. They'd literally just got back from Iraq. They just had their post tour leave from Iraq, and they was men. They were in their late 20s. A lot of these lads, where I was 17 years old, like they did seem very grown up, very tough men as well. And I just wanted to be part of them, but you're an outcast for the first year or so. You're not welcome to even drink with them blokes. But my tent crew, because I was the troop leader's crew, they was good as gold to me. My crew looked after me, and I was quite lucky there because they was quite a well-respected crew. So down the bar, they introduced me to other people and sort of got me foot in the door. But a lot of lads sort of, not bullied, but you're just not welcome until you've done a year or done something worth, you got to make people respect you, sort of thing. And I do agree with that to an extent until it becomes bullying, sort of thing. But a lot of people, we used to do initiations. I've heard some horror stories. Ours weren't terrible. And mine was drink a pint of whiskey. I think it was Jack Daniels. So I nicked this pint of whiskey. I'm 17 years old. My loader, Paul, I remember he's bought me a pint and I've nicked it. And about 10 minutes later, he's dragged me outside, stuck his hand down my throat, and I puked up. I go, no, I'm all right. And he said, no, but you'll die. We can't have you die because the car will get shut. So, but then I was, and you buy everyone a drink as well. You ring the bell, you buy everyone a drink. And it's sort of like you do a couple of exercises and get to know people. But I don't think you're really, not respected, but you don't get to know people until you've been on tour or even like a big exercise, like a you got a Battus or something like that. And
so is it? Does it kind of work out then? Like your crew, is that who you hang out with most of the time when you're off duty and everything? Is like everyone?
No, to be fair, you probably want to stay away from each other because you're sick of each other. you get on really well. Like as a tank crew, there's 4 of you in a Challenger 2, and you get to know things that no one else knows about each other. Just when it's 4 o'clock in the morning, you're on Overwatch, and you're just talking shit to each other to keep each other awake. You get to know things about each other's families, and you look out for each other. But then, saying my gunner, I was quite close to my gunner. We'd go out drinking, but you do sort of drift apart, and you go to your own mates when you're back in the block.
So, were you and Carl? Did you join about the same time?
Yeah, he was a month or 2 before me. So when we was at Bassingbourne, we was the only tankies, and we stand out about because we had black berets. But I just remember seeing him because he was obviously ginger. He's the gingerest bloke you've ever met. He's got the freckles, the bright orange hair, everything, and the gingerest man I've ever seen. But but we didn't really talk, and we sort of nodded to each other, acknowledged each other because we was both tankies. But we didn't really talk until probably got to the regiment, because he got to the regiment just before me. And to be fair to him, he introduced me to people when I first got there, because I didn't have a telly or anything. Come sit in my room, watch a film with me. He was good like that. So we've always been close friends.
So when did you find out that you're going out on operations for the first time, and how did you feel about it?
Well, I was literally from my first. I don't know how often you used to have it, but you'd have a troop leader's interview. And a tank troop's only 12 people. It's really small. So you'd have a lieutenant or a captain. And I was just begging to go on tour. And then all of a sudden this tour to Kosovo come up. And it was a brigade surveillance platoon tour. So lovely. I love something like that. So I've done all the training for it. It was really intense training. But then at Lid, the final course was at Lid. And I twisted my knee running on the beaches. We was doing fireman's carries with someone. I twisted my knee, and that was that tour over for me. But then a few months later, I got back to the regiment, back to my old squadron, and the boss went, there might be a tour. Sorry, because we was originally we was the 7th Armour Brigade, the Desert Rats, but then we transferred to 1st Mechanised Brigade. However, the rest of the garrison when we was in Germany was still the 7th Armour Brigade, and they were going on tour, but they needed extra people. So the boss said to me, look, there's a chance you can get on this if you want. And there was a troop of us from the tank regiment got attached to the Scots Dragoon Guards. And it was called X-Troop, which was a bit embarrassing to start off with, but we sort of owned it in the end. X-Troop. But that was an interesting tour, though. We'd done all the pre-deployment training in Senelager. And as with the Highlanders, a lot of riot training. In fact, most of it was riot training and ranges. And I've got to admit, I didn't know what I was going into, because all we'd done is ranges, shooting things and battering things with shields and batons. So I didn't know what to expect. And we got to Iraq, and it wasn't like that at all, actually. Telig 7 was quite a peaceful tour. Where we was, anyway, we was Basra Rural South. We was based in Qasar, which is right down south, in a port. And our job was just to patrol the local area. Every troop got given a little town. Our town was Khor Azerbaijan, so we go there every week, have a shura with the local, I don't know, you call it the sheikhs and the mayor equivalent. And it was quite a peaceful tour, really. We'd done these. We'd go to Shaiba. I think once a month we'd spend a few days at Shaiba, and that's where you got the IDF. But we was quite lucky. We never got nothing more. It never got closer than say 100 meters. It was more fun than anything. We drank a lot of tea and coffee at Shaiba. Really played a lot of cards, and that was it. Because they had a squad, or they had a troop of tanks there, so you was just there like a QRF on tanks, really. That was your job. So but the tanks weren't really used; they're too aggressive. So, like I say, it was quite a boring time. And then towards the end of that tour, though, we got complacent, to be quite honest. We really honed our soldiering skills. We all learned Arabic. We learned how to read Arabic, number plates, and every day we'd have a briefing by the boss, and he'd tell us what cars to look out for. And there's probably 10 cars that are suspicious, and we'd know them off by heart. We'd know people's names off by heart. And however, because nothing had happened for 4 or 5 months, we did probably get complacent. And one day we was leaving camp, and another troop, I think we was going to the American camp up the road, which is always a good day out. So we were sort of racing each other, I think, and the other troops sort of overtook us, and then we got into a bit of a convoy, and unfortunately an IED went off and hit the first vehicle, and it killed one of the lads. So yeah, it was horrible, to be honest. Yeah, but we, like I say, we honed our soldiering skills, so the immediate action drills kicked in straight away. Before we went out on a patrol, we'd have actions on, i.e. contact front, IED. We'd get into formation, and we did. We all bugged out of vehicles, got into fire positions. But I remember, because we all had PRRs, I remember someone in the back of that vehicle that had been hit was pressing the pressel. So all we could hear was the screaming, because the other lads had all been wounded quite badly. So that was quite shocking, really.
Yeah.
But that was the only real proper action we got on that tour, really. There was a few small arms contacts, but nothing close, really. Probably more of a warning shot. We was probably more a threat for the Americans than we was from the militias.
Was there? Did you know? Was there a change in yourself and your attitude towards danger and what being on operations meant once you'd had that incident and lost a comrade?
Definitely. We got on really well with the locals. It was hearts and minds driven. After that, it kind of went out the window a little bit. But it wasn't horrible to them, but I didn't want to know them after that. It went from my mum would send me out colouring books and pencils and pens and things to give to the locals. I said to her, don't bother no more. I don't want to know. Which is sad, because it probably wasn't any of the locals that done it. It was probably someone from up north come down to do it. And I'd imagine, because we lived in quite a peaceful area, the locals were probably gutted that had happened. But as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I'm aware, I don't think too much happened in that area after that. I think it was a bit of a one-off.
What was so prior to that incident? Tell us a bit more about what your interactions with the locals.
So we had a bit of a rotation. So you'd be on patrols for a week, where you'd literally, you park up in the local police station. A couple of you stag on there, and the rest of you go on foot patrol through the town, just talking to the locals. And it was really, we were trying to make a difference. We really was. Like I say, we'd have shuras with the village elders and the local, council and stuff. And I don't think anything come of it. That's the thing. We was going there and they wanted wells and electric, and we're going, yeah, we'll get it for you. I never see anything change in the 6 months we was there, so I get why they got wound up about it. But we did try, the boots on the ground, we did try and make a difference. And going back a year later, we was in Land Rovers, like soft skin Land Rovers this time, with helmet. But as soon as you've done your 5 and 20s, helmet off. A year later, we was in Warriors, minimum Warrior. And
so when you got there, then you felt like the bloke's hearts were in the right place. You were trying to do your best, but there wasn't any material change on the ground as far as you could see in the plight of the locals.
We'd go to power stations that had been blown up in the invasion, 2 years before, and they'd be running, but they could only run for a certain amount of time a day, and nothing changed. I just don't get what happened. It's sad. It was a.
Sorry, mate. Sorry, I cut you off there. You were saying it was sad.
No, sorry. It was. Yeah, it was sad. It was a beautiful country, to be fair. There's a Basra War Memorial. I don't know if you ever see the Basra War Memorial. It's Commonwealth War Graves War Memorial. Not far from Basra Airport, which I think on Telic 7 was called the A-Pod. I think we called it the A-Pod on Telic 7. We changed to the Cob on Telic 10. But anyway, it was a massive war memorial, beautiful. And apparently Saddam Hussein had moved it from up north somewhere to there to keep it safe. And it was a bit damaged because it's 100 years old, but it was a beautiful war memorial. And some of the things you see out there are really nice. But everything just seemed battered by that point. Everything had been shot up or just worn away. Nothing's been maintained. The buildings are all falling apart. Everything's rusty. Weird. All the sewers were knackered.
Did you get into the city at all?
On Telic 7? No.
Yeah. Okay.
No, we weren't allowed on, because we was only in Land Rovers. We was just on the outskirts, really.
Okay. So how did you feel coming back off that tour then? Did you feel like you'd accomplished anything? Did it make you want to go back for more?
No. Another thing as well, we'd seen a lot of dead bodies on that tour. A lot of bad people, militiamen, the Jaish Mahdi, people like, there was a lot of mutilated bodies, and it definitely changed the way I see humans. I didn't think humans could do that. Of course, but seeing it, I remember being Ginge. We was watching it. We was looking at his dead body once, and the bloke had like an RSJ through his head, where an explosion had just blown a bit of metal through his head, and it's just it makes you look at life different. And I say losing a friend out there. I come back and I was very angry. I remember I had my R&R New Year's Eve, and I think New Year's Eve I had about 5 different fights that night, and luckily I won them all. I didn't get hurt, but it could have come out the wrong way. I could have really hurt someone, or vice versa. I could have got really hurt. But I wasn't a fighter before then, and after that I definitely become more of a fighter. So it definitely changed my mentality.
Where were the bodies coming from that you were seeing?
Well, the main one we see was it was quite a comical thing actually. We was on QRF, we got crashed out. Everyone had a rifle with 4 magazines, 100 rounds. That's what everyone got issued. No grenades, nothing. But we had a Gympie in a Sanger. No, we had a Gympie on a vehicle. So it's a vehicle-mounted Gympie. So it never had a foresight. It never had a butt. And we got told, grab that Gympie, put some sandbags on the roof of the Land Rover, and make sure you pad your shoulder because it's going to hurt when you fire it. Because basically it was kicking off between the Iraqi police or the Iraqi army and this militia. I think it was the Jaish Mahdi. So we're booting it down the motorway, and you could hear it, RPGs. It was kicking off. But literally, by the time we got there, it just stopped because it was over. But we thought we're in soft skin Land Rovers with like a vehicle mounted Gympie. We think it's going to really kick off here. We got there, and there was just loads of dead Iraqis, but it was all militia blokes. Another time we got told there's a coach coming down from Baghdad, a coach of Jaish Mahdi. So be more alert. And you just think, we've got 100 rounds each, and there's a coach full coming. I like riding on a coach as well. They're battle bus in National Express. But yeah, it was all. It was a camp called Camp Booker. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's an American camp. It's a big prison, and that was sort of the centre of it. All around there, you had the Cloverleaf Junction down by Safwan. We patrolled around there. Yeah.
So, did you want to get back out then after that first tour?
Yes, 100%. I volunteered for that tour. The second tour was my squadron, so I had to go. But we all got told. All the lads who had been on Telic 7, we got told, if you don't want to go, you don't have to. Whereas I was desperate. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to be a soldier. That to me, that's soldiering. I know it's not. The boring side of life in camp is soldiering as well, but I didn't like that side of soldiering. I liked being on tour, being an exercise. So I couldn't wait. And how long was it? Just over a year, I think it was. No, not even a year, actually. I don't even think it was a year in between Telic 7 and Telic 10 that we deployed. But we come back from Telic 7, went back to our old squadrons, and then we went to Battus, done Medman 4 on tanks, which was brilliant. It's such a good experience to do a Medman in an armoured battle group. From there, we finished that. We done another short exercise out there for the Green Jackets, because they was light roll. They wanted some tanks to fire over the top of them, like a firepower demo. So we done that. And then we went sailing around Vancouver Island. So there's about 20 of us went sailing. I was expecting the Isle of Wight, but Vancouver Island's the size of the UK. So it was a beautiful, really good experience. And then come back from there, and we started our pre-deployment training for Iraq. We didn't know what role we was going to be doing. We just knew we wasn't going to be on tanks. So we got told it might be 432s or Bulldogs. But then we got told we'd be on Warriors. So we was retrained to Warriors. And the Irish Guards were going to be the infantry in the back. And that's what we did. And but in between that, because Telic 10, we deployed about April time. So Christmas time, the corporal's mess had a do on, and they needed waiters. So I got dicked to be a waiter. And I'd had a few drinks, because the wives always give it over drink. And there was a bloke in my regiment. He was a well-known bully. He'd sit at a bar just giving the young lads abuse and that. Anyway, he kept poking me and giving me grief, and I knocked him spark out in front of the colonel. So I got arrested and all that. And then literally a week before we deployed, I had to go in front of the colonel for get punished. And my OC at the time, he pulled me in and said, look, very informal. We went have a cup of tea, you know. I've had a chat with the adjutant, and he said you're going to get fined a month's wages. Just accept it because we're going to go on tour. You don't need money. I went, all right, lovely, sir. So went in front of the colonel. He's gone, do you accept my punishment? Yes, sir. 60 days detention. Bollocks. So I ended up going Colchester. So my, in fact, it was the 23rd of April, St George's Day, and the 30th of April, which is my birthday, that's when my squadron deployed to Iraq. So I missed them deploying. I stayed in the garrison jail for a week, and then I went to Colchester for about 40 days, which I actually quite enjoyed Colchester, to be honest. It was a bit of a breath of fresh air once you've sort of settled in. It's a bit like basic training again. And from there, I literally come out of Colchester. The regiment hadn't booked me a flight back to Germany, so I had to pay for my own flight back to Germany with all my kit, my 1157, all my army kit. Yeah. I had a few days in Germany, didn't even have a room or a bed, so I slept on one of my mate's floors. And then I got told, right, you've got to get all your kit, you're going to Iraq, so go and get your rifle, and I think I had a pistol and a rifle. You got to get a coach to Munster, which is a couple of hour drive from Fallinbos to where we was, and then get a flight to Birmingham. And then when I get to Birmingham, and bear in mind, I've got a rifle and a pistol, get a hire car and drive to Bryce Norton, and you can claim all the money back. So I had to pay for it all myself. So it's mad. So I got to Birmingham, I got to the airport, Munster, and I'm dressed in civvies, but I've got a rifle and a sandbag. So I've checked it in. I believe it was that simple. Sure, yeah, it's not a problem. All right. So I've got to Birmingham, got my trolley, and I've got my Bergen, my stuff, and then sandbag with firearms written all over it. And I didn't have much money because I've been in prison for a month. So I phoned my dad, and I said, Dad, can you pick me up? So he came and picked me up, took me back to their house for a couple of days until I waited for a flight to Iraq. And then I went, oh, by the way, I've got a rifle and a pistol. My dad's gone, oh, for fuck's sake, what are you going to do with that one? I'll just put it under my bed. Don't say nothing. So, I left it under my bed at my mum's house for a couple of days, went out drinking. And I come home, and my nephews around there playing with it. So they had the SA-80 and a pistol out. Yeah, playing Call of Duty around the house. But, no one done. But, so no one believes me when I say that. But it definitely happened. And anyway, my dad dropped me off at Bryce Norton. I remember I was pissed as a fart. He put my poor dad, every time he dropped me off at Bryce Norton, I was paralytic still. And he's sending me off. He knew what was happening. Telic 10 was different. So he dropped me off, and then nothing was ever said. They didn't question where I'd been, because I'd been missing for 2 days. This rifle and pistol had been missing. But so I flew out to Basra. And what a different place that was. Basra Airport was so different to when I was there a year before. Like, I just remember the state of it. There was the IDF there. They'd blown up tents, containers. Everything was battered. There was concrete bunkers everywhere. It weren't like that on Telic 7. And I had no dog tags either. So I wasn't allowed to go on patrol because I didn't have dog tags. And they went, well, you just got to wait out. And I was desperate to go out on patrol. So I phoned my mum up. I went, Mum, can you go down a local army shop and get me some dog tags? So she did. She said she sent them out to me. So my poor mum, knowing that I can't go out on foot patrol or out on patrols without dog tags, and she did. So I didn't think of it 2 years later. That poor woman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not something you think about as a young man. A couple of questions, mate. How old are you now at this point?
39.
No, sorry, mate. I meant going on Telic. On Telic.
I was 21. I had my 21st birthday in prison.
Okay. And when you're in Collie and during that little bit period when you come out, are you hearing off the lads about what's going on out there? Are you getting any letters and so? But what? How about when you were doing the pre-deployment training? Were you guys quite aware of what was going to be what kind of stuff you were going to be facing?
I didn't believe it, to be quite honest. Yeah, we was getting told about who was it? I think was it the Lanks? Whatever regiment was out here, an infantry regiment. They was losing warriors daily, and I was like, nah, no chance. I was out there a year ago. There's no chance. And there was RPGs and IEDs were taking out warriors pretty much every day. And they was probably getting repaired, but they was losing a warrior every day. And I was like, no chance. And then, because I was in Badger Squadron, so Egypt Squadron, another tank regiment squadron, they'd been out there for Telic 9. And I got a chance to speak to some of them lads when I went back to Germany, and they was warning me how bad it was out there. The IDF, the IEDs, it was, because Challenger 2 had been penetrated at that point. although it was underneath, which is it's the weak point on any armoured vehicle, it had been penetrated, and other Challenger 2s had been disabled with RPGs, IEDs, not permanently disabled, but knocked out of the game for a bit. So it was a bit different. Whereas on Telic 7, because of the ECM, the equipment we had, everyone knows about, should know about, the tanks didn't have it. So we had Wolf Land Rovers with ECM on in front of Challenger 2s because they didn't have it. It's just nonsense. But that shows the threat was a lot lower then. I think there was more suicide bombers than there was IEDs there.
Right. Egypt Squadron, then, they'd have been on Challenger.
Yes, yeah. Challenger and like in Snatch as well. I was going under the outskirts of Basra on Snatch as well.
And then you've got, so Telic 10, you've got, was it Cyclops on Challenger?
Yes.
And then...
Yes, the Cyclops did the same job as Egypt did.
Right. Yeah, and then you got, you said Badger Squadron that you were in?
Yes. Yeah, we were Warrior.
Is there any other was there any other squadrons?
No, just the two. I think at the time we had Falcon Squadron. They was in Afghanistan at the time.
Right. Okay.
So we was very split up.
Right. So when you got out there, then, mate, what was your? Because you went to the palace, didn't you? So you were living at the Cobb for a bit while you were waiting for your dog tags.
Yeah, I was there for probably about a month. Yeah, so at the Cobb, I went out on a few patrols, but nothing significant. And then one morning, we all got called together. We heard op minimise, which means someone seriously injured or died. All the phones had turned off, and we got called together. And for some reason, at the back of my mind, I thought it was a certain mate of mine. It wasn't him; it was my other mate. And it broke our hearts. It did. He's Warrior. He was a driver. It drove over a bridge, and the bridge was so narrow that it rolled over into the mud and the water. And he I hope he was knocked out and he died peacefully. The boys in the back and the turret managed to get out, but they couldn't get him out. So it's a very sad day. But we meet up every year at his grave. A few of us, me and Ginge, do is up to 10, 20 of us sometimes. Every year on the day we meet at his grave, have a few beers, check in on each other, and his family come along and have a beer with us as well. So he's remembered. But the Irish Guards, we was under them, they was in charge, their commanding officer put us all on guard that day. Instead of giving us a day off, do whatever, I had to go and guard the terminal part of the airport where all the politicians go, the really nice part. It's all marble, beautiful coffee machines.
Oh, like that. It was like a brown building. It was like quite a brown little. I think it was quite.
I can't remember.
It looked like a hotel. It looked like a hotel, didn't it?
That's it. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. Like everyone else was living in battered accommodation, and this building was there. It's beautiful. I remember like freshly squeezed orange machines in there and stuff like that. But that was your mates died, so go and stag on there. So we didn't really get on with hierarchy.
Is that the day it happened, or the day of the ramp?
Yeah.
Or the day he was put onto the?
No, that was the day it happened. Well, I think he died in the night time, and that was the next morning. So yeah, it was a big kick in the teeth, really. But I'll say we didn't get on with their hierarchy. The Irish Guards hierarchy, I did not like them. Their commanding officer used to appear. You'd be in the showers, and he'd appear really tall, looking over the top of the showers, looking at you and inspecting you in the shower. And he said he was inspecting to make sure everyone had their dog tags on. But weird bloke. He was known as the Pink Panther.
The Pink Predator, mate, sounds a bit more fucking out.
Yeah. They like we was 24/7, and when you got night sights, you're out at night. So we'd be out on ops all night, and we come in the morning. We come in at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he'd be walking around the tents 8 o'clock in the morning, make sure everyone's up, shaved, and presentable. So it wasn't a nice place to be.
So where are you?
This is
so you're at the Cobb, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I was there for about a month, and then I got the call. I think when R&R started, and we'd had a couple of casualties, we need to get some fresh blokes in there. So me and my mate Skid, we got. Here's one. The Irish Guards commanding officer, he'd commanded a Warrior years ago, so he wanted to go out on a Warrior patrol. So I think our hierarchy said, well, it's been a long time, sir. Things have changed. Like, shut up. I'm a commanding officer. I'll do what I want. So they've gone out on patrol, and it was well known, certain parts of Basra where it's tight and there's lampposts, you keep the gun front. Well, he's going over the side, he's at a lamppost with his 30mm gun, and it's bent at 90 degrees. So, yeah, they come back to camp with this warrior that could shoot around. And so then, that warrior was at Basra Palace. So me and my mate Skid and then my mate Billy had to get on this Merlin, I think it was. Billy had a spare barrel because they just screw in. He had to carry this spare barrel for the warrior. But we had Badger Squadron. We had tankies have always been a good laugh, like quite cheeky, and we had this newspaper that used to get created and just left around called the Badger Bugle, and that was the front page about how the Pink Panther strikes again, and with a bent barrel.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions on kind of like, I guess, culture there. Really, like, was there quite a clear difference between culture between your regiment and the Irish Guards regiment's culture?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we got on with the lads, but even they struggled sometimes. Like we'd walk around naked because it was 40, 50 degrees, you know, and we just start wrestling each other, and they hated it. I don't know if they was really homophobic or something, but they thought it was really weird. And we'd like, you know, if one of us is asleep, if we see the Irish Guards, we'd start playing with each other just to wind them up. They really didn't like it. But you know, they was very, I suppose they're just professional. That's what it was. They was very serious and professional. And we was just a bunch of like scruffy tankies.
Is that, you know, to say scruffiness, you know, like, is that almost like a part of the culture that you embrace? Like, you want to be scruffier than other regiments? Like, it's something that you kind of have a bit of a pride in?
Not quite as scruffy as the Green Jackets want to be, but we don't tend to march. We call it the tanky shuffle, where we just walk in step with a little bit of a swing of the arms, yeah. But we're not like, you know, clean and presentable, but because our uniform is so different, because we wear black, we are different. You know, we do stand out. And so when I say scruffy, like, we're known as fat tankies. So like, if you've got a beer belly, but you can still pass your fitness tests, you're a bit of a legend. You know, like, anything to piss the infantry off.
Right. And what about, like, what? How did you find like life at the Cobb?
Well, we had to be ironed. Your kit had to be ironed straight away. It's just, what is that all about? You're on tour. Out of your bed. I get being shaven because at the time that didn't bother me as much. But if you wasn't shaven 8 o'clock in the morning, you know, you're getting, I don't think a guy had come in, but you're getting beasted or, you know, told off. Shit job sort of thing. Just unnecessary, really. So we were glad to get out of the Cobb.
How about, like, do you remember your first time getting IDF and like that kind of side of life?
Well, I remember because I got to the accommodation. That's another thing I noticed as well. Everyone lived in like little bunkers. You know, there was concrete blocks around your bed space, and then we got given these like, armoured tables to put over the top of it. So everyone slept on the floor. So that was completely different to Telic 7. I don't remember my first IDF really. I remember my first IDF on Telic 7. I just remember it was funny because it wasn't close. You know, it was a few hundred meters away, the first one. And I've got photos of it. We're just all giggling, you know, all in our pants and our helmet and body armor, just giggling in the middle of the night. But I do remember it just being so much closer on Telic 10. They seemed to be able to drop the mortars and the rockets exactly where they wanted to from miles away. And they seemed to land in the same spot for a few days and then it'd move. And luckily, I was all right. But I know nearby tents were getting hit and destroyed. But the little concrete block walls were saving people, apparently. So it's a good thing. But it was a massive adrenaline rush. That's one thing I will say. It was the best buzz ever at rockets. And when you hear them rockets coming in and the mortars coming in, I loved it.
Can you remember like that sound of, like, if I was to play the IDF alarm sound now, would that provoke any kind of reaction in you?
Where did I hear it? I was somewhere the other week and an alarm went off and it was similar to that. And it was like, but for me, the biggest noise that not scares me, but makes me sort of just stop what I'm doing, is a fridge closing or a chest freezer closing. When you was at Basra Palace, because they was dropping the mortars from a few hundred metres away, you could hear the mortar launching that, boom. And for me, it took a long time. I'd be in a pub and toilet doors, fridge doors, but chest freezer drawers doors closing. That was the biggest one, the thud. But I really enjoyed the idea, to be honest. Yeah, sounds a bit sick, but it was such an adrenaline buzz.
So when you got out to the palace, then tell us a bit more about that. Like what it was.
Yeah,
set the scene, mate.
Oh, my mate had just died. A couple of days after my mate died, we got out there. So me, Skid, and Billy got out there. There was a 2-can rule in Iraq at the time, so you was allowed 2 cans. So at Basra Palace, they created like a little bar, and my squadron, I think there was 2 troops at Basra Palace and a troop at the Cobb. So these their turn to have a couple of beers. Well, squaddies don't ever have 2 beers, do they? So they was all pissed as a fart. So they come back to because Basra Palace, for people who don't know, is several palaces together. Anyway, so they come back to the palace. I'm there, and they're going, we've got a bottle of whiskey hidden in a bottle of mouthwash. Come and have a drink in this room. And this room had on it, like, do not enter, unsafe. And I'm going, what about that? Don't worry about that. So we've got in this room, the mortar alarm's gone off, and next thing you know, these rockets come through the ceiling, blew us all across the room. And my mate Skid, the first thing, because all we could hear is like dust, loads of dust, and it sounded like gas. So Skid shouted, gas, 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 which is like one sound no one wants to hear. That's the worst thing. But I don't know why. The first thing I did was sniff. Wanted to smell what this gas, because no one had a respirator, so it didn't matter. We was all going to die. So I wanted to know what it smelled like. But luckily, it was just dust. But we managed to find this rocket and all the bits of it, and we got a photo of it. But we got blown across the room, but no one got injured. It was amazing. But that was our first night in Basra Palace, and I went into the main bedroom, and there's all bunk beds. And my mate Billy's on the bottom bunk, and I went, I'm going to sleep on the top bunk. He went, I wouldn't if I was you. I went, why? I went, look at the wall. So sort of head height all around this room, there was just holes everywhere, bullet holes where they'd have pot shots. And then just where the IDF had come in, obviously it goes upwards, and so if you sleep on the floor, you'll be all right. So yeah, I slept on the floor from then on. But it was all marble. It's beautiful buildings. It was obviously battered, but it was all marble. They stayed quite cool as well to a point until it got really hot, and then it just held the heat, and it was unbearable. But yeah, the idea of Basra Palace was something else.
What happened to the bottle of whiskey, mate, when you got blown across the room? Did it survive?
I don't know. I don't actually know, actually. Yeah. Someone must have nabbed that. It's like gold dust.
And was that coming in parcels, was it?
Yes. Yeah. In a mouthwash bottle.
Yeah. Yeah. So, living at the palace then, obviously with the IDF and everything, what was your... Like, you haven't seen these lads for a few months. Could you notice a change in the blokes that you hadn't seen since you last been together?
It hadn't been long, but they all looked skinny. They all looked tired. And just, that 1,000-yard stare that you see, that's what they all had. Because when we was at the palace, we was 24/7. It was horrendous. We was out in the daytime, we was going on clearance patrols. Nights, we was going on strike ops. It was 24/7. It was horrible. You didn't sleep. And when you could sleep, it was too hot to sleep, or you got IDF'd. So, yeah, it didn't take long before I looked the same as them, really.
Can you remember going out your first patrol into the city, or your first operation?
Yeah, I think my first patrol, I remember me and my Skid, he's the gunner, my Jeffro was the commander. We're going along, and we heard this whoosh, and I thought it was something on the radio, like an interference. And someone, get your heads down, lads, and RPG's just missed your heads. So the boys in the turret, it's just gone over the top of their heads. So didn't even notice this RPG. And then about 100 metres down the road, an IED went off, literally just in front of my warrior, and missed us, but I got a face full of grit and shit. Luckily, I had glasses on because I was all scratched up because I'd probably lost my eyes. But I had like scratches on my face and just felt like sunburn, just like flash burn, I suppose. But that was going to resupply the PJOC, the PJCC, because we got there, and I remember I thought my face was going to be missing. I didn't think I had any skin left on my face. But got there, and I was like, fucking hell, I was lucky there. And that was my first sort of patrol. And they all, pretty much every patrol went on, an IED would go off somewhere, whether it hit a vehicle or not. Quite often they missed, to be quite honest, yeah. But they would just, that's the thing, at that point, they was going straight through warriors, especially the rear. Just before I got out there, the decision was made to put sandbags in the bottom of the warriors. One had hit gone through, and it turned the sand into molten glass. So it just covered them all in molten glass. So they quickly removed all the sandbags. But
those are the underbelly IEDs, were they?
No, they was able to aim them to get sort of under the additional armour we had. They had them at the side of the road, aiming up slightly.
Yeah.
But to be fair, the Warrior gunners were brilliant. The Warrior gunners saved so many lives because their job wasn't to look for enemy as such. It was just the front vehicle was just looking for IEDs because they had the thermal imaging, and any heat signature would stop, and then they'd just shoot it. They'd get clearance to just shoot it, deny the IED.
And what role were you doing?
If we had any, I was a Warrior driver.
And how are you feeling about that then? Because considering you're at the front, up at the front.
It didn't. You know what? When you watch documentaries, people who say they was never scared, they're lying. I don't ever remember being scared. The only thing I remember being scared of is really being captured and having my head cut off on the telly because I didn't want my mum and dad seeing it. But other than that, I don't remember being scared. All my sights, because for some reason, when you're in peacetime, your Warrior only has one sight, one periscope. But when you're in theatre, you have three, which is a great idea because you can actually see what you're doing. But anyway, mine were all shot out. So so I had to have the hatch open when I was driving along. But to stop me getting shot, I'd drive along. I ended up cable tying my hatch, so it was only open about 30 millimetres because some of the drivers were getting shot. Some of the Warrior drivers, I think the Royal Welsh lost a bloke or two, and the driver's getting shot. And that's that whole vehicle just stranded then. So it's so important that the driver didn't get shot. But I say the snipers used to shoot your sights, so you'd open the hatch. And I remember once we was on a patrol, and I think I was a second vehicle, and I thought the vehicle in front was flicking fag butts at me because I just see like a red spark off the front of the Warrior, and then another one, and then it come on the radio. Can that driver close his hatch? There's a sniper shooting here, and it just becomes sort of it's funny. Funny till someone gets shot in the head, but no, it was a mental place.
Any particular operations stand out to you? Any particular nights?
Yeah, 100%. There was a decision. We used to do this resupply. I'm sure you've been involved. The tanks and the Warriors from the airport would link up with the Warriors and the Bulldogs from Badger Palace, and then the convoy would resupply the palace. It was a monster. The palace. It was too big to resupply in helicopters. I can't remember what it's called now, but someone always lost their life. That's the one.
Pusey.
Yeah, Pusey. Yeah. Someone always lost their life. It was horrible, and they changed it because it's normally done at night, but for some reason they did it in the daytime. And from what I heard, the brigadier who gave that order wanted to go out on that op, and I heard he didn't even get out of the cob because he passed out. I don't know how true that is.
It's Jem, mate. He was in the back of my mate's Warrior. He was I think he was in the turret of it, but that is Jen. He was in hospital for a week.
Yeah. I know.
Well, I don't know about the hospital. I can't confirm he was in hospital for a week. I can confirm he went down as a HECAS, I think, before he got out of the main gate.
But anyway, we went out in the daytime. Well, it wasn't just daytime. It was Iraq were playing Iran in some massive Arab League football cup or something. And we've got into Basra, and there was people everywhere, and it just kicked off. I couldn't believe how bad it was. It was like the biggest riot I've been in a few riots out there. It was the biggest riot I'd ever seen. I remember I was the front Warrior. Our job was obviously to link up with the challengers. And I remember they just roadblocked. There's people everywhere throwing bricks. That's what I was doing. They're throwing petrol bombs at us, but they weren't lighting the petrol bombs. So we was just doused in petrol. The Irish guards in the back, they weren't happy about standing up anymore. Because what we used to do is we'd drive along, turn sideways, they'd all jump up with their baton guns and shoot the people throwing bricks and petrol bombs. But they wouldn't get up no more because there was too many snipers shooting at us. So I remember saying to my boss, you got to go lethal on these fuckers because I'm covered in petrol. And then my gunner, Dowie, he went, the boss is asleep, he's unconscious. Oh, shit. So next thing you know, so I just, we've got to drive. So I just started driving. I think I ran a car over. It weren't nice. And then I see this bloke lighting a petrol bomb. He was a young lad. And I just got my pistol out and shot him from probably 15 metres away. But luckily that dispersed the crowd because they weren't used to people shooting at them because we were so scared to shoot at people in Iraq. But I could justify that because we're all covered in petrol and he's lighting a petrol bomb. So, yeah, that sort of cleared it up a little bit. And then I remember driving over a few cars and then we managed to get the convoy out of this sort of ambush. And then we managed to link up. I remember seeing these Challengers coming along and I was like, thank God for that. And then also this massive IED went off and it's just like, no. But then the Challenger comes straight through it and it's like, then we linked up, the convoy come in and that was another Pusey done. But whoever that brigadier, whoever gave that order, they should be shot really.
Well, it was I think the idea was we'll take them by surprise by coming in the daylight, which is, sounds like a good idea. Until you realize, but they're going to see us leaving the cob.
It sounds like something they do in the First World War, really. They won't expect this.
Mate, these cars that you're driving over, are these parked cars or are these cars with people in them? Or...
People in them. Not when I say drive, I'm driving over the front of it. So
right.
I hope I didn't kill them, but I definitely run engines over. But I didn't care. It was them or not so much me. It was the crew, the people in the back, and the rest of the convoy. These cars were they're blocking the roads at the end of the day. And one thing I do remember seeing, someone in a Norwich shirt throwing petrol bombs. So, of a random Norwich shirt, must have got it from a charity shop or something sent over there.
Mental.
But,
Mental.
Yeah.
And your boss, he was unconscious because he just passed out in the heat, I think.
Yeah. So then about 2 weeks later, he come up to me. He went, Blackie. He went, did you shoot someone? I went, yeah. He went, I haven't reported it. He went, we'll just say it's a warning shot. I went, yeah. So say whatever you want, boss. I don't care. It needed to be done. The gunner, Dowie, he was going to me because I go and wake him up. And he goes, listen to this. And all I could hear was slap. He's only ain't waking up.
So I think it's probably the point for us to have the conversation about rules of engagement then. What did you think? Well, what rules of engagement were you on and what did you think about them?
With Card Alpha, to be fair, I was scared to open fire. Tele 7, petrified to open fire. Tele 10, pretty scared to open fire. We were just told, if you believe, if you can honestly say that there was a threat to your life or someone else's, then you can open fire. And like I say, I was covered in petrol. The turret was covered. The warrior was doused in petrol, and there was someone lighting a petrol bomb. So I knew that if I didn't shoot him, it was too close for the warrior gunner to be able to see. So it was left down to me. And if I didn't do that, then we'd have probably been on fire. And I've seen videos of warriors on fire before and people jumping out into crowds, and it's not pretty. But I don't believe anyone abused the rules of engagement. I know people that we got because I think halfway through the tour we got told if you see people on a mobile phone and you believe that they are dicking, you can engage them. But I don't know many people that did. I don't know anyone who did that because there's always that moral thing. You got to live with the fact that you're shooting someone, you're taking their life. It's all right for people who've never been in that situation to say, "Oh, why can't you just shoot them?" But you got to live with that at the end of the day. So, yeah, I know there wasn't as many kills as there could have been on that tour from my lot anyway.
And how did you feel about using your weapon in that instance?
I was quite buzzing. At the time, I was quite happy about it. Like, hey, I got one. It wasn't until a while later you think, bloody hell, and he was a young lad. And rumours are like, it turned, after a week, it was Blackie shot a kid. But he was a young lad, a young man. Probably not old enough to drink, but old enough to know better.
Yeah. And as how you feel about that changed over the years?
Nah, I don't think it has really. Just for the simple fact that it was him or my mates.
Yeah. How long were you out there then, doused in fucking petrol? I don't know.
Hours. Yeah, I'll say because I just had my pistol cocked and ready to go. A warrior driver is not meant to use his weapon. It's not the thing. But I knew that they were so close that the gunner couldn't see him. So I knew that I kind of knew that I was going to have to do something. To be fair, I wanted like a baton gun. That's what I was asking for one of the Irish guys to give me the baton gun, but they wouldn't. But to be fair, the Iraqis was used to a bit like when you watch the Northern Ireland documentaries. They see a baton gun, they know about the baton guns. They just jump out of the way, pick it up, and throw it back at you. So, and the Iraqis were the same. They were dancing, they jumping, like, just skipping out of the way of the batons.
Has any other ops mates stand out in your mind?
Loads of we've done loads of strike ops. I remember we had the SAS with us one day. They was in the back of my Warrior, and we was doing a strike op, and the target was on the second floor, and they was going to have to use ladders. So we had ladders on the side of the Warrior, and I remember we flew up to this point, and I had a line sight, like a thermal imaging sight, like an old-fashioned thermal imaging. It's called a line sight. So we pulled up, and I wanted to see what they was going to do. So I'm watching it, and they've come storming out in there. They looked like they'd been shopping in millets. They weren't wearing like combats like what we had on. And they've gone up this ladder, and then the ladder fell. So there's blokes up a ladder, and it's fell over. And I remember laughing, like we was all laughing, thinking like, is this the best the British Army can do? But obviously, that they are human. Now, it's just part of life. But there was loads of strike ops. We had on another op. They welded like a battering ram to the front of one of the Warriors, and because there's murder holes everywhere. This Warrior, his job was to just bang the murder holes and make it a bit of a safer place. But the first murder hole it drove into, the battering ram fell off. So that weren't the best battering ram. But no, to be fair, we were just more sort of clearance patrols every morning. We'd do a lap of the area, and then strike ops. It weren't exciting being a Warrior crew really. You're just a big target. That's all you were, because you was the heaviest bit of armour in the city. You was the biggest target.
What was your opinion of like the SAS in general, like as all special forces in general?
Well, when I'd done the surveillance stuff for the Kosovo tour, I didn't go on. I'd met a few of them, and decent blokes. Yeah, you wouldn't like. Yeah, just normal blokes really. And I'd met a couple at Basra Palace in the cookhouse. They'd sat down on a table and you get talking to them, and you know they are because they've got long hair, aviators on, they look cool. But yeah, just normal blokes really. But I don't really know the ins and outs of what they did. I say we'd be more setting up cordons and providing overwatch for what they do.
How did you get on with the rifles and the Royal Welsh lads that were in the house with you?
I don't ever remember really talking to the Royal Welsh. But the rifles, we got on with them. Got on really well because they're a southeastern or southern regiment, and so are we. We just tend to get on with them. And a few of our lads had friends and family in their regiment, so yeah, I really liked them. So I really like the Royal Welsh as well. I've worked with them before. Really good blokes. The Royal Welsh are very similar. We was with them in Canada once, and they was very similar to us. Very laid back, nice blokes.
Going on a bit of a tangent, but like, what's your like opinions on the way that the British Army has traditionally had its like regimental system with, kind of like local regiments and that kind of thing?
I think it's brilliant. I think it's sad that we're losing that now. I know when I was in like, the tank regiment, there was two of us. There was 1 and 2. 1 was the north and 2 was the south. And now it's just the RTR. You lose a lot of the traditions and I know it's the same with, especially like you say, the rifles. When there was the Green Jackets, for instance, I worked with them quite a lot, and good lads, very proud of their traditions. I don't know if the rifles have kept some of them traditions, but it's not the same. And same with the Royal Welsh as well. I remember doing training with the Royal Welsh Fusiliers, and very proud of their regimental history. It's sad, but it gives you that stupid pride that makes you. But the Americans, when you work with the Americans, they love it because they haven't got that pride, that history. And yeah, you'll fight for each other just because you're in the same regiment. You don't even know the bloke, but if you know he's in your regiment and you see he's in trouble, you'll go and help him. But then when you're back in camp and it's only your regiment, you'll fight him because he's in another squadron. And it's just stupid. But I say it seems to be they're losing that, I think, with these amalgamations. But it is what it is.
Is that history something you're quite aware of? Obviously, the tank regiment, has got all these battle honours, North Africa, Normandy, all this stuff. Is that something that you're quite aware of and that you want to... Is it something when you go on operations yourself that you're conscious of upholding that tradition?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Especially, I'd say more so now that I'm older, and I've joined the association. I know people who've fought in the Second World War, Korea, and every war and conflict in between. And when you talk to them, and when I went to Arras a little while ago, and I was talking to the serving lads, and it's just not there no more. But I'm sort of trying to instill it into them, like, you don't realise you're coming from a great regiment. They've done great things, and and a bit like when I was that age. When you're 20 years old, you don't really care, really. But it's definitely something I think there should be. Like I say, battlefield tours and things like that. It's where you really learn about your regimental history.
I guess this is kind of connected to it then, like, like when you've got all these battle honours in a regiment, how do you feel about the fact that, like, the Telic 10, for people who were on the invasion of Iraq, there was a warfighting class for the medal, there's a battle honour, I believe, but there isn't anything for Afghanistan, like battle honours. There isn't a battle honour for Telic 10 and stuff. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, it's sad. And the boys who, it was quite a lot of my mates who was on Telic 1, and they all say, like, Telic 9 and 10, the boys who was on Telic 9 and the boys on Telic 10, they were just completely different. Like, Telic 1, it was not a turkey shoot, if you like, but I know the boys who engaged other tanks, they were saying, like, the other tanks, half of them weren't even crewed because the Iraqis had run away. I'm not taking that away from anyone, because it was tough. They didn't have the right equipment. They was getting scuds fired and all that sort of stuff. But it's completely different. But yeah, like I say, they got rewarded with a battle honour, rosette and a clasp on their medal. And yeah, you can argue that, like, the Telic 9, Telic 10, and other Telics as well, there was a lot harder, a lot more dangerous, and a lot more lives lost, and there's not that recognition for it. I'd say even the Telic now is completely being forgotten. That's how I feel when I talk to a lot of people. It's all about Afghanistan, whereas, like I say, Telic 9 and 10, in my opinion, were something else. Like, no one was safe in Afghanistan. It's very kinetic, but you can hide. You could get behind cover from bullets and RPGs. With IDF, no one's safe. The amount of RAF that died in Iraq because of IDF, people who shouldn't be dying, a lot of them died, sadly, because, like I say, everyone's a target in Iraq.
And did you feel that at the time as well, that Afghanistan was kind of getting the headlines while Iraq wasn't really being talked about?
No, when I was on Telic 10, I don't remember hearing about Afghanistan, really. It wasn't really I say we had a squadron out there and we never heard nothing. And it weren't until we all met up again, and they had a great time. They were just, it was very kinetic, but they was on mastiffs. They had grenade machine guns, 50 cals. They was overwhelming the enemy. Whereas we was more the target on Telic 10.
So you feel like it's more like in later years, like now we're in 2025, it's that one conflict's kind of being remembered and the other one's being forgotten?
I reckon so, yeah. You've got to look at the documentaries that come out. There's a lot more about Afghanistan. And I think Iraq's always been a bit of a shame on the country, I think, because of what it was. It was the politicians got it wrong at the end of the day, and it was the lads on the ground are the ones who suffer. And the Iraqi people are the ones who suffer. But, like now, you've got the Northern Ireland veterans potentially going through the courts, and I do feel like that's going to come in years to come with the Iraq veterans. I know people who have been dragged into murder cases in Iraq. It's all been dropped because they've done nothing wrong. But the politicians who sent people there, they're the ones who should be answering, in my opinion.
When you were on Telic 7, you said at the beginning, you felt like, even though there wasn't much of a difference being made to, say, the infrastructure of the country, that you were making a difference with the locals, giving coloring books, talking to the locals. What was your interactions with the locals like on Telic 10?
Nothing. I felt like everything we'd worked hard for had gone out the window. I felt like there was no hearts and minds no more. Don't get me wrong, we weren't treating them badly, but there was no hearts and minds. If we needed to go through someone's wall, we'd just drive through their wall, smash their gardens up, whatever. It didn't matter. We did not give a shit about hearts and minds. But we didn't know at the same time. Oh, sorry,
no, sorry, mate, you go.
Yeah, we didn't know at the time. Plans were being drawn up for us to withdraw out of Basra Palace, prisoners to be released. We didn't know all that was happening. So I say we were just pawns in the game, really, I suppose.
So would you say like Telic 10 for you, is it like, it might be too simple of a way to say it, but was it more about, right, this is just about survival?
Yeah, definitely. That's all we was doing. We was under siege. We didn't really realise it at the time, but we was completely under siege. Basra Palace, you had Basra Airport just trying to feed us and protect us, and we were just under siege. And when we withdrew from there, we thought we'd won. We thought we'd done it, because you see the militias waving at us, and we thought, what are they waving at? And it weren't until years later we found out a deal had been done that they was going to protect us. So militias actually protected us leaving, and it's just horrible.
What do you remember about that night of the withdrawal?
Well, before that, I was at the PJCC. So about a month before that, I was the last troops at PJCC, because everyone used to do a 2-week rotation, but we was there for about a month. We ran out of food, water, everything, because they couldn't resupply us.
Can you tell us more about that then, mate? Sorry, look, can you tell us more about like that experience?
The PJCC was like the hotspot of Basra, of Iraq. Like, it's not many people have heard of it, but every night, hell opened up. Like, it was unbelievable. I think it was a provincial joint command centre or something like that. You had the police station at the bottom, and we was up the top. We was on the top on Sangers guarding them, and we were so tooled up. We had jimpies everywhere, javelins. There was sniper rifles just thrown everywhere. You just pick one up, use it. It was just, but yeah, like I say, there was I think it was either a wheat factory or a cement factory next to it, and that used to engage the PJOG every night, and it was just like a Wild West shooting range sort of thing. And it all just died down, though. Overnight, it just died down. And we got so bored, me and my mate Skid was actually telling, because he was on the front gate searching people, we was actually telling them, where's the militia? Tell the militia their mothers have babies with donkeys. Because we was bored. We wanted to have a shoot-up. And but nothing ever happened again after that. And then one day, because we ran out of food and water, we was living off like a slice of Spam and a spoonful of noodles a day. And there was sewage. The Iraqis had knackered all the sewers around it. So sewage was coming into our building. So we had to sleep on pallets to keep us off the floor. And it was so bad. And then the green jackets, the 4 rifles, had to come and rescue us. So they come in their bulldogs, and they took us out. And it was literally like 10 minutes notice to move. We're like, right, we're going. Get all your kit. Don't worry about the ammo and that. Just grab anything valuable, anything intelligence-based. We're going. And the green jackets come and got us and took us out of there. And then we went back to Basra Airport. Me and my Skid got bollocked for being dirty. Bear in mind, we'd been dumped in this place, no food, water, and I had to grab hold of Skid because I thought he was going to chin this second lieutenant from the Irish Guards. But then we got flown to Basra Palace for the withdrawal, and we didn't know when that was going to be. I just remember it was so hot. I think it was up to 50 degrees. You had to wear gloves to touch anything because it was so hot. The aircon had been shot out on the roof. They installed all this aircon, and the mortars and rockets had shot it all, but no one had repaired it, so it was just unbearable. And then one night, we got told, right, we're going. So we all mounted up. I got a nice photo of my troop. We got a photo of the tank regiment flag. And that's it, and we left. And then I was one of the last warriors, or one of the last vehicles. I think I was the second from last one to leave Basra Palace. And there was a bugler, one of the rifles buglers was playing. And I don't know if it's my warrior or the one behind me stopped, and the bugler got in, and that was it. We went. And we drove right out into the desert and back to the APOD, the COB. Sorry. So
what can you remember seeing on the drive out through Basra?
People waving at us, like laughing at us. We thought we didn't know what to expect, but I just remember people with AK-47s waving at us. And it was obviously them. They'd been told, let them go. We thought we'd won, but it turns out we hadn't. We'd been sold out, really. That's how it felt anyway.
Mm. Tell us more about that, mate.
Yeah, it was quite a side note.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I'm sorry I got broke up a bit. What was quite a side, sorry?
Yeah, when we got out into the desert, because it was pitch black when we left, but then when we got into the desert, sunrise, and you see this convoy of warriors, bulldogs, and whatever vehicles, probably REME vehicles and stuff, and everyone had their flags up, so there was only about 6 warriors from the tank regiment. We had our tank regiment flag up, Union Jacks. The Welsh boys had their Welsh flags. The Green Jackets had their. It was an impressive sight. Then we drove back to the Cobb. Yeah, and that was it. And it was just like, all right. And the rest of the tour was quite a quiet tour, really.
So how are you feeling about leaving the palace?
I think at the time quite glad, but then quite sad as well. I felt sad for the people who was going to be left behind because I think the Iraqi army was staying behind, and I don't know what happened to them. To be quite honest, I'd imagine they probably had a bad time. But yeah, it was like I say, it was quite. We'd lost 3 blokes there. So one of my other mates was killed by an IED. Another one was killed by IDF, and the Green Jackets, the Royals, everyone had lost, men, and the regiments before that had lost a lot of men. So there was a lot of history there, a lot of lives that have been lost there. So it was quite sad. But at the time, I don't remember thinking. It weren't until I got back to the airport that it really sunk in what we just left, and then you see it all over the news. It was such a big deal.
How was it kind of? How do you remember it being portrayed in the news?
Like a victory, because I say the videos were all a convoy with flags waving. Well done, but we hadn't done nothing. We'd been let out basically. I don't know what the actual deal was, but I've always been led to believe that there was a prisoner exchange. So we release prisoners, we give the city back to the militias, whatever ones they are, Jaish al-Mahdi, Al-Qaeda, whoever it is, and they'll let us go without any contacts. And that's the way it seemed.
How do you feel about prisoners who would be known to kill British soldiers being released back in that kind of deal?
Nowadays, I don't have any feelings, good or bad, because to be quite honest, knowing what I know now, I would have done exactly the same. If someone invaded my country, I would have probably done the same. So as long as they acted morally, if you can blow someone up morally, I don't know. But, if they've done it, I know they don't have rules of engagement, but if they fought fairly, then fair play to them. That's what I'd say. I wouldn't shake their hand, but it's a conflict at the end of the day. I don't think anyone sets out to be a bad person. I know I didn't, but they probably feel that I was a bad person because I wore DPM when I was in their country.
Yeah. Did you ever come across instances of civilians murdered, or these kind of like atrocities carried out against the civilian population by the militias?
Yeah. On Telex 7, we went up to a little village in the middle of nowhere and offered them a well or something. And then we went back a couple months later to put this well in, and they didn't want to talk to us because all their kids had been killed. That was, I say probably Jaish al-Mahdi, just because they'd spoken to us. They'd gone in and killed their kids, apparently.
How about on Telex 10?
I don't know, not Telex 10, I don't remember anything like that. I remember seeing dead bodies floating down a river. Trying to think what the river's called now. Shallow?
Yeah, Shallow.
Yeah. And we had a balcony that overlooked it on our palace. It sounds really nice, but it weren't. It was like the smoking area balcony. But you'd see the odd body floating down.
What was that like?
I don't know, really, speak honestly. I've expected. It was such a shithole. Like I say, you can imagine it in the 90s or the 80s before the first Gulf War. Probably a beautiful place. But it was like a fun fair just outside Badger Palace, just up the road. And it was like a proper fun fair, although it wasn't running no more. And there was a boat, like a big ship on its side. And it's just a broken city. And there's buildings just completely like collapsed. It had been hit by AEDs, rockets, mortars. Yeah, it's just it's sad, really sad.
So that last part of the tour, then, were you doing the border operations on the Iranian border?
No, I can't remember what we was doing. To be fair, I think we were just outside the airfield. I remember one strike up we got told we're doing. We got told we're doing a strike up with a ref Reg. And we was like, oh, here we go. But those actually all right blokes. But so we there was a shed, literally a garden shed. That was a couple of 100 metres outside the main gate of the cob. And no one had noticed it. And the ref Reg suspected it was like an observation post. So so we're going to go and investigate. So there's a couple of warriors. They wanted them because they was in Wimix. And they wanted some armour. So I was a dismount at the time. So we stormed down there. We got to this point. We've dismounted out the back. We've got into fire positions and we're covered in shit. It was a toilet. It was a Iraqi police station's toilet. And there's shit all over the floor. We was covered in it. And the ref Reg went in, kicked this door open, and there was just a toilet as well. And so we went back to the cookhouse that night. We sat there eating our dinner covered in human shit. But, yeah,
I think we were on that op as well, mate. But I didn't know that it was I didn't know it was a toilet. I had no idea.
Well, the bit we was a toilet. So.
Yeah, fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel in those last few months of the tour then at the Cobb after being in the Palace?
Depressed, I suppose, bored, because it just quietened down. There's no IDF no more, really. And then I can't remember. Was there IDF at the end? I don't remember, actually. I remember when they installed them new...
I think it was pretty quiet.
Yeah, they installed them Gatling guns, didn't they? The phalanx guns.
Yeah.
They used to shoot them out of the sky. They was quite exciting. But then, yeah, it went quiet. And I remember one day we got told, put your helmets on. I think the mortar alarm went off. And then we got told there's a wedding going on. And they're all shooting their AK-47s in the air. And one of our lads found one of the bullets in the cookout. In the table in the cookhouse, there was one of the bullets. So it's a good job people had their helmets on. Yeah, no, it's quite uneventful.
Were you ever part of releasing the prisoners? Did you ever take part in that? Guarding them and releasing them for their happy?
No, I don't remember that.
So when the end of the tour came around, then what was the experience like going back? Did you get decompression, or what was it like coming?
Right. So I'd been in a tank regiment. You normally start off as a driver, then you're the gunner, loader, commander, and you normally drive for about 2 years, and then you become a gunner. Well, I've been a driver for a lot longer because I've been on tour. So I was desperate to do my gunnery course. So I actually went back from tour a couple of weeks early to do my gunnery course. So I didn't have any decompression whatsoever. I literally got back to Tidworth. We've gone from Germany to Iraq to Tidworth. And what a shithole that is. Like, Germany was brilliant. And then to go back to Tidworth, where it's just depressing. There's not much there. And so anyway, I got pushed straight in my gunnery course. Got to celebrate. The squadron come back. Their party and all that. I'm stuck on this gunnery course. They had a medals parade. I wasn't allowed on that because of it. I already had a Iraq medal anyway, but I wasn't allowed on the parade. So I just felt so distant from everyone. And then they went on their leave, and I'm still on this gunnery course, so I missed a bit of my leave. And then one night I was out drinking with my mates, because the gunnery course, you do shifts. You either do sort of 6 till 2 or 2 till 10, and I was on the 2 till 10. Which meant every night at 10 o'clock we was down in Salisbury at a nightclub, finding a nightclub that's open. And I ended up with a punch up with 2 blokes. Basically, it was in there. One of my mates, I was in the smoking area, and my mate had come out with his nose bleeding. So I've gone, what's happening? He went, there's 2 blokes in there. They've just jumped me. So I've gone storming in there. And these 2 blokes were starting on everyone, and I just banged them both out. Like the best punches I've ever thrown. And next thing, I've got nicked, spent a night in the cell and all that. Gone back to the regiment, and the RSMs called me and he said, what happened? Then I said, well, I was defending the honour of the regiment by doing this. And he went, all right, good lad. But it turns out these 2 blokes were Apache pilots, and they shouldn't have been out drinking that night. So, yeah, they was acting like dickheads. And the copper actually said to me that they was trying to press charges against me for kind of ABH or something. But then the copper showed them the CCTV, and it showed that them 2 beating my mate up. And then me come in and throw 2 punches and knock them spark out. I think I broke one of their jaws, one of their wire sockets. But I was like cool with spring. I'd just come back off a very dangerous tour, busy tour, and just released into the wild with no decompression. So there was no comeback for that, thankfully. But carried on my gunnery course, and then went on my post-tour leave. So I was very angry.
So do you think that, like, in instances like that, maybe others, you now had that in you to just, if there was a threat, to just like react to it instantly.
I've been getting taught, was it maximum violence but controlled aggression? Is that what it was? And I've always sort of been like that since. If there's a threat, just quickly deal with it. Be as violent as you can, as quickly as you can, to de-escalate it, if that makes sense. And so I'm not like it now. I've calmed down a lot now, but yeah. And the thing is, in the army, you're trained. I've done a bit of boxing. I've done a bit of Krav Maga. You do a lot of sort of unarmed combat, and you're taught how to really fucking hurt people, but you're not taught how to switch that off again. It's and it definitely, when I come back from Iraq the second time, I was definitely a lot angrier than I've ever been. Definitely fighting a lot more than I'd ever done before. And I just wanted to go back on tour again. So I was in Canada a little while later. That I was doing Op 4, which was great. And then while I was out there, I got told Egypt Squadron were going to be going to Afghanistan and they want volunteers. So I put my name down, got rejected a couple of times because of my behaviour. But eventually got in there. I got a job in the ops room. I thought that would do, and I'll get out on the ground from there. But anyway, I ended up. I know my dad said to me, like, why are you volunteering all the time? And he goes, like, you just want a bit of a payback for your mates, don't you? And I was like, yeah, I do. One of my best mates had died, and loads of other mates, and I wanted payback. So, and I know it's a completely different country, but just that aggression, I needed to get rid of that aggression, I suppose. So anyway, got a job in the ops room. Then it turned out that they needed like a bomber team, so put my name down for that, and I ended up being the bomber commander. So we done all our pre-deployment training on Salisbury Plain and this is for Herrick 10. I remember it snowing, it was like a blizzard, it was horrible. And then we eventually got out there, done a couple of weeks acclimatising and getting the vehicles ready, because we took over from the Royal Marines, and we was on Vikings at that point, and they were in shit state, because obviously they're Royal Marines, they're not vehicle specialists, they're infantry. So we sort of done all the maintenance on the vehicles, got all the paperwork up to date, because that's we're the armoured specialists at the end of the day. So we got them to a decent standard, and then went out on the ground. The first sort of op we did was just before Panther's Claw. There was an op to sort of capture Camp Shore or Fob Shore Cap. So we went into Nadi Alley, sort of secured this area. The engineers come in and built the fob out of I think it's an old British Victorian fort. From there, we went and resupplied a patrol base called Haji Elim, and that was the first foot patrol I did. And I think it was 18 hours. I think we walked for with all the kit on. I was exhausted for rivers. It was horrendous. And then we got to this PB, and I've never seen those Welsh Guards. They were broken. They looked like zombies. They hadn't seen people for weeks. They're just living off basic rations. They've been fighting all the time. It was bad. So we resupplied them, sort of cheered them up a bit, went back to Shorecat, and then went back to Camp Bastion and got ready for Panther's Claw, which we was told is going to be the biggest operation since D-Day. And it was huge. It was something else. And then when we deployed on that, I remember forming up the night before, and you just see this mass of vehicles, armoured vehicles everywhere. And then we rolled into Nadi Alley again, and surrounded Nadi Alley and Baverjay, and it was a clusterfuck, really, to tell the truth. We was working 24/7. I think 3 days we went without sleeping at one point, where we was fighting constantly. There was no one to reinforce us.
So, Panther's Claw. Probably a lot of things to say about it, mate. So rather than me ask, why don't you just go ahead and tell us your experiences at the opening stages of Panther's Claw?
Yeah, because it was such a massive operation. Obviously, I was just a small part of it. So we was we had two names. We was the Mobile Operations Group, or the Armoured Support Group. We was in Vikings. So we went to Nadi Alley, and our job was to work with the Welsh Guards and basically secure one side of the Shamanan. How do you say it? Shamanan? Do you remember what the canal was?
The
called?
canal. It sounds about right, mate.
Shamanan Canal. Yeah, so we was going to secure it. There was crossing points all along it. It weren't as easy as that. Like I say, we didn't sleep for about 3 days. We were just constantly fighting, clearing the routes because the IEDs were everywhere. We had a Viking roll into the river because we was told the track would be wide enough for a couple of Viking or vehicles. But it wasn't. It was only wide enough for one. So one of the Vikings rolled in. It was horrendous. It was, I believe everyone was saved. But it was just that sort of set the scene for the rest of it, really. We fought all the way along that river. The Welsh Guards would be capturing the houses, platoon houses along the way. And then it turns out the Taliban were able to cross the river anyway, because the engineers were coming and blow the bridges up. And then the Taliban would just swim across anyway. So they was infiltrating us. There was a massive IED strike. We got cut off. So there was 3 Vikings. We was right at the edge. Was the lead vehicles. We had no rations with us or nothing because we got rushed out of camp. We got told, don't worry about rations, just go. So anyway, this IED strike pinned us. It was pinned down. So we managed to capture this compound, and we was there for about a week with no food or water. We had crabs, so there was like a little stream of crabs in, so people was eating the crabs. There was cucumbers growing and grapes, so people was eating them. The Welsh Guards would chuck us the odd, Oreo or whatever, whatever they could spare, they'd throw down for us. And the Taliban were literally 50 metres away from us. So it was like, like Tin Can Alley. We were shooting at each other from one side of the river to the other. And I remember shooting this bloke, and I think I shot him in the shoulder, in the chest, and he still ran away. And it weren't. I was talking to the interpreter about it, and he said because they're on adrenaline, opium, all these different drugs that just keep them going. He said he'll probably die later on, but they'll carry on fighting for the time being. And I've heard from the infantry boys when they've taken compounds, you do find evidence of all these drugs being used. But it was a mad time, really. And then we finally got recovered and sort of reorganised. And we was based out of Fob Shawcat. And again, we were just resupplying the Welsh Guards who were doing a lot of the fighting. They was having to do bayonet charges and stuff. But we was throwing grenades over walls. We were so close to the Taliban in vehicles. We was driving up to them and just like posting grenades over the top and using our pistols and rifles at the top of the vehicles. It was mental. One day, I think it was the Welsh Guards CO wanted to go and visit his troops. We all thought it was a silly idea, but he said, I'm coming out. No, he wanted to go and improve morale. The route was cleared in the morning. I think it was cleared every morning. The ISTAR was keeping an eye on it from above. Everyone was watching this route, apart from a certain place. And we didn't know that. The Taliban obviously knew that this spot wasn't being watched. They got in there and planted an IED. So the convoy went out. And from what I've heard from my mates, the CO insisted on standing up in the top hatch in the rear cab, which we never did. The only person who was at the top was the Viking commander. The CO insisted he did. And the IED went off underneath his vehicle. And sadly, it took his life, but it took my friend's life as well. And it really injured the Welsh Guards in the back. It was a bad time. And the Viking crew as well. I think the driver was badly injured. That was the first casualty for us. I know there'd been other casualties of other regiments. So anyway, they all come back to Shawcat. We do what we do. I think we had a game of cricket, to be honest. We made a cricket bat, a bit of a pallet, and Black Nasty and made a ball, and it pissed a few people off, I think. But that's how we got over things. We have a bit of dinner, chat, play cards, and try and have a laugh and a joke about it. There's time later on to have a cry, although I'm sure people did cry. So life at Shawcat was pretty crap, really. There weren't nothing there. The engineers were busy digging a well, and after a couple of weeks, they managed to dig a well, and that gave everyone water, but you had to have chlorine in it. So we were drinking chlorinated water. But we used that for showering and washing and things like that. If you was going out on the ground fighting, you got given bottled water. So we was all right. So we had bottled water in the end. So that's a bit better. In fact, we had so much bottled water. One day we had a drinking competition. So you got all these Welsh Guards boats stagging on, drinking chlorinated water, and there's all these fat tankies nicking so much water. I think we had a competition. It was Northerners versus Southerners. You had 3 litres each. Whoever team drunk their 3 litres first won. And weren't a pretty sight. We had a grenade box just full of puke. But that's what we always do. We try and make the best of a bad situation. So, yeah, we was on Vikings because we were so mobile. We was always used to lead convoys for some reason. So we'd be in front of mastiffs and things like that. And then another time we was on a patrol and the lead vehicle hit an IED and the commander died, unfortunately. The driver was badly injured. I think all his guts were ripped out. And the boys in the back, the Welsh Guards, they was actually all right. They was just really shaken up. Their cab had flipped upside down. And from then on, I think it's about 9 hours or something before we was able to recover the vehicle. And we were just getting shot at by snipers and machine gun fire. So just a constant two-way range all day. And I remember I was stood there because obviously I was a bit shook up because I'd seen my mate dead and that. And I was just stood in the middle of the track just engaging. And then it was our medic come and grab me and just tapped me on the shoulder and do me a favour, get behind a bit of cover. Don't want another casualty sort of thing. So, yeah, that was, I say Panther's Claw was a bit of a blur, really, because we didn't really get much sleep. I think after a while, we got told we'd get an hour's sleep a day. So we had to be clean shaven in that hour's rest as well. But I think that's a guards thing, because we had it with the Irish Guards in Iraq and then we got the Welsh Guards. But the Welsh Guards are all right. But you have to be presentable, though. The rest of Afghanistan, everyone's got beards, but no, not us. Yeah, so Panther's Claw was a bit of a blur. But I know towards the end of Panther's Claw, it might have actually finished. It didn't. I know they called it a success, but I think they just run out of troops, really, and run out of everything. They just called it a success because they'd killed a load of Taliban and took the area. But it was my R&R, so me and my mate we was the first lad to go on R&R. And we was heading back to Camp Bastion. Someone found an IED. And for some reason, the ATO wanted to come and gather it. And normally we'd just mark and avoid. But the only time we'd seen this, they wanted to come do it. So we'd set up a cordon and the ATO come out. And I remember it come over the radio. I'm going to do a controlled explosion in 10 seconds. And then so we're all doing a 10-second countdown. And after about 3 seconds, there was a massive explosion. So we all cheered. We thought he'd denied the IED. And it weren't. It actually, something happened and it got blown up. And it killed him. So our lads had to go and pick all these bits up, bits in trees and everything. And that was me going on R&R. So when we was driving back to Camp Bastion in the middle of the night, and I remember because we was late now because of what just happened, and the boss come on the radio and Blackie, see that plane that's taking off? Oh yeah, that's your plane. So I missed my R&R flight. I was gutted. But anyway, we got to Camp Bastion, and I think the troop sergeant went, "Go to the HLS. You might be all right." So I'm covered in. I had blood on me and everything. I was a right mess. Run to the HLS. Me and my mate, we managed to get a Chinook to Kandahar. Took ages, and then we managed to get on a flight. And I think because we was in such a state, covered in blood and everything else, they just let us go. They didn't want to talk to us. They just let us go straight through. So we managed to get on our R&R flight in the end. Kandahar's middle. It's like a holiday camp. I remember we had a night there, and you go down. I think it's the boardwalk, and there's all the shops, and I think there was a crazy golf course in the middle. It was mad. Yeah, I had my R&R. I remember.
Sorry, mate. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
What's it like coming off the ground after being in that kind of situation and then seeing the boardwalk and stuff?
It's surreal. I think there's a bit in Apocalypse Now where they're in the middle of the jungle and all of a sudden they walk into a clearing and there's like a party going on or something like that. And it's just, that's kind of how I felt. I was angry as well, really angry at people whose job it was not to go out on the ground. Not that they joined, clerks and people like that. That's their job. You need them people. But I was just angry. Why am I not sleeping, getting shot at? My mate's getting blown up, not washing. But at the same time, I was quite proud to do that job. But it's a weird feeling. I say that I think most people were getting a day or two in Camp Bastion to sort their kit out, have a wash, get a haircut and all that. We were just like straight out. Coming back was the same though. Most people, I think you was going to get a couple of days to acclimatise, get your admin sorted out. I literally got off the plane and there was a Land Rover waiting for me. Come, we need you. We've got to go straight out because the Barmer team before, when I was on R&R, the rest of my team had been blown up. No one had died, but they'd all been injured, and so they needed me. And they created this new Barmer team. And I remember they gave me this lad, and I just said, I'm not happy with him. He's really young, but he was just weak. He was a tiny little thing. I'm a big lad. I've always been a big lad. And I said, but how's he meant to be able to carry me? If I get shot or injured, how's he going to rescue me? I'm not happy with him in my team. And he's got no experience. He was scared all the time. Anyway, I got told, do as you're told. You're going out of the ground. So I went out of the ground. First patrol we were on, I looked him up and down. I noticed he didn't have his webbing on. I said, where's your webbing? He went, in the back of the Viking. I said, well, where's your magazines? He went, my rifle. And he went out on patrol with one magazine. And I said, but what happens if we get contacted? He went, well, they've got machine guns on the Vikings. I was like, I think I called him a prick. Like, go and get your kit, you prick. So anyway, a bit later on, we're going along the Shalaman, whatever it's called, canal, and we got engaged again. And the Vikings, every time there was a wall, every time they tried to advance to cover us, they was getting engaged, so they had to withdraw. So it was just us. I remember it's my Barmer team, and then Risa, Royal Engineers Search Advisor bloke. Yeah, so anyway, but this young lad was just hiding behind a little bit of a wall, crying. So me and the Risa, he popped smoke and covered me, and I ran out and grabbed him and dragged him back. And I said to the boss, like, this is why I didn't want this prick on my team. No, probably called him a coward, which is probably not the right thing to do nowadays, but tensions were high. But yeah, so from there...
Sorry, mate, I've got to jump in again.
Yeah.
Is that the only time you've ever seen anyone react like that and not a soldier when they've been under contact, or is it something you'd ever seen in Iraq?
I see it on Telex 7. When I say my mate died, we had this woman with us. I think she was a chef, and she wanted to get a bit of time underground, and she froze like that. I think someone had to grab hold of her and drag her out. She just froze, couldn't do nothing. Someone had to drag her out of the Land Rover, and she just started crying and all that. And also the medic that same day, the lad who died, from what I understand, he didn't have much of a head left, and the medic was still trying to do CPR, put like the J tube they put down your throat, trying to do that, and everyone's like, look, it's all right, he's not here no more, sort of thing. But she, didn't know, went hysterical, if you like. But yeah, it's at the time I probably called him a fucking idiot, coward or whatever, but actually it's fucking horrendous, being in that situation. Luckily it didn't happen to me, because I was able to grab hold of him. But we had a lot of things like that. He kept going out on patrol without his magazines, without his ammunition. I think in the end, after that episode, actually, they just got rid of him, put him back in Camp Bastion. Let the big boys do all the hard work. But after that, I think Panther's Claw completely come to an end. The brigade commander got the outcome he wanted, and then we pushed out into Babajay, which is like the other side of Nadi Ali, and we went into like an overwatch position. I think we took over from the Light Dragoons or someone. I sat on top of it, an over observation post. We just sat there. It was boring, but it was quite nice actually. We had a little river, so we just I think there was 6 of us there. We'd done hour on, 5 hours off for about 2 weeks, just observing nothing. And then we'd just go and sit in a river. There was crabs in the river, so people was having barbecues with crabs. Watermelons were growing everywhere, so we had them. And then we went grenade fishing. So we had loads of grenades. So we started throwing grenades in the river and caught a load of fish. And then the Iraqis battered them for us. And that fed us for a bit. It was sick of rations. But that was it was a weird time it was. And then I remember this household cavalry patrol come along, because we had loads of water, because that's another thing. We was like a dumping post for water and rations. So like a cheetah could just dump a pallet full of water next to us. So then you get like the recce regiments coming in and getting their rations. And so the household cavalry come in, and while they're getting all the water, we was nicking all their Gucci kit. So they had like these little stoves that you can use: petrol, diesel, paint, anything flammable. So I nicked one of them. They had all like decent fresh rations. We nicked all them. So waved them goodbye.
I should have asked this about Iraq as well. What your experiences like with, you mentioned the fishing, local wildlife. Did you have any experiences in Iraq or Afghanistan when it comes to slithery, creepy, anything like that?
Yeah, camel spiders. Do you know what? Ginge fucking arsehole. He, load of them, because I've always been scared of spiders, so a load of them pinned me down, and I had a camel spider in a water bottle, and I remember they held it on my face, and fucking 12 blokes pinning you down, putting these spiders all over you. I think I pissed myself and everything. I was in a right state. Yes, you see some massive lizards in the desert. But camel spiders. People say they chase you, but I've never been chased by one. But then someone else told me what it is. They're after your shadow. That's what it is. Seen some, probably the biggest I've seen, sort of like the size of a hand, big enough.
And what about in Africa? Did you see any like snakes?
Or scorpions, actually. No, scorpions. I remember my mate Saddo, animal lover. These little scorpions that put you in a coma. He's picking them up and putting them in his hand. And in Shortcut, there was a cave. And me and Saddo went in this cave. And all these bats flew out. And it was like Batman. There's thousands of bats. And you can feel the wind on your face. But they miss you. It's quite a surreal experience. But other than that, I can't remember. Yeah. Scorpions, little scorpions. And bats.
There's kind of questions in my head because of the conversation I had with someone when we recorded yesterday. But did you ever see instances of like children being abused in Afghanistan or animals being abused or anything like that kind of, really kind of shook?
One of the most haunting things I think I've ever seen was in Iraq. There was a dog. Yeah, so we stood on Telly 7, we stood these long-range desert patrols where we drive along the Iraqi border. I don't know where to, Saudi Arabia, something like that. And find these little forts. They look like French Foreign Legion style forts. And the Iraqis had shot this dog in the rear leg and just plonked it next to a generator that was running. And it was dying. Its leg was all infected. It was dying. And we started feeding it and giving it water. And the Iraqis were kicking off because I don't like dogs. So I remember saying to the boss, "Please, boss, can we just shoot it?" And he wouldn't let us. And that haunted me for years. If that was Afghanistan, I'd have just shot it because ammunition wasn't accounted for in Afghanistan. But in Iraq, I'd have probably got fined a month's wages. And to be fair, thinking of it now, it'd have been worth it. But that was one of the worst things. But something else I did notice in Iraq and Afghanistan was the kids would come up to you, offering you jiggy jiggy and things like that. I don't know if they're used to that with the adults, but they go, Mister, $5, you can jiggy jiggy, things like that. I ain't paying a $5 for it. But to me, that just says something else goes on with whoever's out there. The thing is, I know that, especially Afghanistan, grown men in their 40s and 50s, marry children. Not a nice place. And I think this is the trouble with what's going on over here at the minute, with these people that are coming over. That culturally, we're so different. And, and if they're not educated, then it's scary that they're amongst people. But if that's their culture, that's fine in their country. I don't agree with it, but I'm not in their country anymore. Yeah.
And was Afghanistan for you like a bit like Telic 10 was, where it was you almost had like two halves to the tour that were kind of markedly different?
Yeah, because after Babajay, because they realised that Vikings are not designed to be like frontline vehicles because they're not armoured. They're like as bad as armoured as a Snatch, if probably less armoured than a Snatch. So we went out into the desert and we was providing overwatch for the convoys going up to Sangin and Garesh. And we lost a lad in the desert, just like in the middle of nowhere, hitting an IED because the Taliban are experts at what they do. But yeah, that was was interesting in the desert because we surrounded this big mountain range one couple of days, just waiting for this convoy. And then intelligence came and went, you do realise on the top of that mountain that there is a Taliban observation post. So, wow. So the boss come up with a plan to the squadron. I don't know how many Vikings that is, probably 20 Vikings. We surrounded it. So first light, we would just, every weapon we had would fire at the top of this hill. And then there was a couple of Lynx helicopters with side door gunners. As soon as we stopped firing, they'd fly past and strafe it. So that was quite a sight. I did have it filmed, but I broke the hard drive, so I lost it. Someone might have it. But yeah, all them Jimpies firing upwards and then Lynx like strafing it. But we used to call them fast airing a lot as well when we was in the desert. That was another good thing about being in the desert. As soon as you get engaged from a hill, just get the Americans or the French to drop a bomb on it. And that was quite good.
What was it like watching that?
Yeah, impressive. I remember once we had the light dragoons. They was in scimitars. They was with us. And next thing you know, we got engaged by a recoilless rifle, which was fucking scary because that goes straight through a Viking, a scimitar, or anything. But next thing you know, all these scimitars are opening up fully automatic with their Radin cannons. And then next thing you know, there's an American dropping a 500-pound bomb on it as well. That was quite good because we always had a JTAC with us as well. And they used to have a little screen on their arm, like a little tablet type thing, so you could watch the pilot's footage as well. But we had all the drones with us as well. The artillery used to come out with us with their little drone, like Skyhawk drones. So we had a lot in the desert. It was a lot more. It's probably more. Well, Vikings are snowmobiles, but the desert, I suppose, is more similar to what it's like in the snow.
What were the reasons they were using the Vikings in front of Mastiffs and stuff then, if they're not armed?
Just because of the mobility, because they're so mobile, I suppose. But Mastiffs are not mobile, so it just seems stupid. It was our Squadron 2IC in the end, who used to be the RSM, a bit of a legend. He put his foot down, I think, and sort of went up to whoever's in charge, said, like, my boys are not leading these convoys no more. It's ridiculous. Because I was a bomber commander, because I never done the Viking training. And we had so many casualties, I had to be a Viking commander. Because I got told, do you mind doing it? I said, no, I don't mind doing it. And then they said, well, just don't die. Because you're not trained. If you die, there's going to be fucking uproar. I'll try not to die then. So, yeah, I was a Viking, because that's another thing. Because I've been used to being on the ground. When you get shot at, you know you're getting shot at. When you've got a headset on and you're getting shot at, you don't know. You can't hear nothing. So I was sat there one day, just on my Gympie, and all the kids around me, and I'm throwing them sweets or pens or whatever. And next thing you know, they've all run. And I think, why are they running away? And I took my headset off and I could hear incoming rounds. So after that, I always had one ear just slightly exposed.
On the subject of vehicles then, how did you find Warrior suited for Iraq you've kind of mentioned Vikings. Do you think that there were any vehicles that we had that were well suited for Afghanistan?
Well, the Mastiffs are brilliant when there's roads. I remember we was behind the Mastiff this time, and this massive IED went off. So I remember I just jumped out the turret and run down the track, and this Mastiff was on his side. All the wheels had come off it, and I remember I opened the back door, and there's all these Welsh guards pissing themselves laughing. And I said, like, in their South Wales accent, and they're going, but we got blown up yesterday. We've only just been given this Mastiff. And it's like, are you all right? They're like, yeah, we're all right. We're used to it now. But they were so good at Mastiffs. So when there's a road, I'd say Iraq Mastiff would have been brilliant in Iraq. But yeah, I don't know. I think you just need a mixture, really, and it's hard to get the balance right. I suppose, like your Wimics, there's no armour on a Wimic, and I'd imagine an IED would rip it to pieces. But the fact it's so small, mobile, it's a benefit. It's a bit like wearing body armour. I know on Tele 7 we had this body armour. I forgot what it's called now, but it had built-in sleeves and massive collar.
Kestrel.
That's it. Yeah, it was probably saved people, but you couldn't shoot. You could not move in it. It was so stupid, and you got to weigh up. Are you better off having it and potentially getting saving from a bit of shrapnel, but you can't return accurate fire. So, yeah, I don't know. The whole I'll argue with a body armour and helmet. The special forces don't tend to wear helmets because for whatever reason.
And how did you find the warriors in Iraq for the conditions and the threat?
I thought that's brilliant. To be fair, like, I would imagine. I would imagine the Bulldogs are probably the best suited. Only because Warriors sometimes are a bit tight. In Basra City, it was quite tight sometimes. Whereas the Bulldogs are a bit smaller. But in the Bulldog, I don't think they have the thermal imaging that the Warrior has. So it's a bit, Challenger 2 is the ultimate war machine when it comes, in open desert. Nothing's going to beat that. But in Basra City, it's a bit different. I don't even know why they took them into Basra City, actually. But... yeah, I don't know. I would say Bulldog. Although I've never crewed a Bulldog. When I was in one, I did feel quite safe when they've got all the additional armour and all that.
How much time on Telic 10 and Herrick 10 would you be spending like working on your vehicles, and what kind of work would you have to do to keep them running?
Well, a good driver he'll check his tracks every day, grease what he's got to grease and that, and then you have a set maintenance schedule. So every month or X amount of mileage, you do quite a big service, but every day you do before, during, and after use maintenance, which is that's just checking your oil levels, checking fan belt tensions and things like that, and just a general inspection of your track. As a driver, your tracks are the main thing. That's all. Your tracks are what you focus on. As soon as you can get out and have a look, you do a track inspection. Just get out and have a quick look. On a tank, you grab a sledgehammer and just, because the end connectors do move slightly, hold the links together, just give them a whack, bang them back on. Because the last thing you want is your track coming off.
Did you ever have any tracks come off when you were in like sketchy situations?
No, I didn't, thank God. I remember once in Basra changing the wheels on the Warrior because they were so hard to do because the extra armour. And then we got crashed out and I couldn't remember if I tightened the wheel nuts up properly. I remember seeing stars. That's how dehydrated and neck, and I was seeing like stars. And it weren't until I was driving out of Basra Palace, I was, shit, have I tightened the nuts up? I didn't know, but thankfully I did. But it's mental time.
So anything else from Afghanistan stand out to you, mate, that you want to bring up?
Nah. I say everyone's heard about Afghanistan. It was a lot more kinetic than Iraq. I don't think I heard one mortar or rocket go off in Afghanistan, but I did hear a lot of IEDs. Found a lot of IEDs as well, and a lot of bullets. That was so kinetic. It was constantly shooting. I remember one contact. I had 14 magazines at one point, all bombed up at the same time. Because every time someone died or got badly injured, we'd just nick all their kit, all their magazines, night vision, everything. You just empty it. So I had 14 magazines, and I remember using 14 magazines in a contact. It was mad.
You mentioned finding IEDs. What was that like the first time that you found it and like uncovered an IED?
Squeaky bum time. Because in Iraq, we never had metal detectors. You just had to look for them. It's mad. But in Afghanistan, you had the metal detectors. And I remember we found one, radio through, and I went, just spray paint it. It's like, what do we do with it? It's like, no, just spray paint it and don't stand on it. And that was it. It's mad. And I'd imagine the Taliban probably come down, pick it up, move it somewhere else. But the first time we found one, as we uncovered it, we sprayed it. We're just waiting for whatever. We just sat there. And this bloke walked around the corner with a machine gun and opened up on us with a machine gun from about 30 metres away. So there's four of us. So we've all opened up with our rifles. He's missed us and we've missed him. And next thing you know, I'm in like the other side of this irrigation ditch, reloading, and we're all just laughing ourselves, like pissing ourselves laughing. But that's the first sort of time I found an IED and the first time I see a Taliban fighter. And
did you see much like? Did you see the Taliban kind of like? You mentioned shooting that guy in the shoulder and the chest. Like, how often are they actually like out of cover, and how often are you seeing them?
Yeah, the bloke when he walked around the corner, obviously he didn't expect us to be there, and then the bloke on the roof, I don't think he expected us to be where we was because we were sort of on his flank. Other than that, I don't think I really got a clear view of the Taliban. It was just normally you just see not even a flash, just. You see bit of dust kicking up or something like that, firing point, because they always fire an automatic as well. That's a bit of a giveaway, really. I very rarely see him fire a single shot. It was always with a PKM or is it an RPK, a fully automatic.
And are you ever coming across bodies of them or anything like that?
No, I never. I don't think I ever see one. I did hear the Welsh Guard saying they found one and he had an Arsenal tattoo. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I don't know Arsenal fans.
Aston Villa. It was Aston Villa, wasn't it?
No, Arsenal.
Oh, this one was Arsenal, was it? All right, well, because I know a lad who's got the Aston Villa story, so I've got a couple of them, mate. So, so I've got a few kind of notes that I've just made along the way, mate. So these aren't going to follow any kind of particular order. You mentioned really earlier, quite earlier on in the podcast, op minimize.
Yes.
That could you run through, just explain what that was, and also like what your thoughts were? Like, I guess what I'm kind of getting at is, did you like, what were your thoughts on, like, was it a good idea, and did it ever cause any dramas and that kind of side of things?
Well, yeah, you'd be doing what you're doing, and then you'd hear over the tannoy system, minimise, which meant all the internet and the phone lines are turned off. And that is normally because, well, it was always because someone's either died or they are critically ill, potentially going to die. And that stopped any information getting leaked out to the family or the press before the family had been told. I don't think it always happened. I think sometimes people slip through the net. The trouble is, you had satellite phones, and I know that wasn't affected, so people still were able to use satellite phones. I probably did, especially in Afghanistan. We had loads of satellite phones. However, I would never have shared any information. I wouldn't have even mentioned what's happened. I'd say it's a good thing. I know one of my friends that died. I'm quite close to his family, and his dad said to me once that when they knocked on the door and told him what happened, he said he had part of him had a bit of a relief that no other family's got to go through that. And I just thought, what a weird thing. But what a lovely bloke. But what a weird thing to say. So I don't know. I can't imagine the news. That's what I was scared of. My family, my mum getting that knock on the door, the phone call. That's the main thing I was scared of, really.
Did you keep in touch with your family much when you were away?
Yeah. I never had a partner when I was in the army. I was always a single lad, so I always had, I don't know, is it 10 minutes a week or half hour a week or something? Used to get phone cards. I always phone my mum or my mate Brett sometimes. And I used to do the blueies, the letters. So I used to keep in touch.
Would you be quite honest about what was going on, or what was you kind of saying to him?
No, I don't think I was, to be quite honest. I think I kept a lot of it, because to be fair, on Panthers Corps, it's all over the news. But I think Telly 10 was on the news quite a lot as well. In fact, Telly 7, I was on the news. Ginge found a video actually a while ago, a clip of it. We were on the news. We didn't even know there was a film crew there. It's I don't know. It's a weird, because normally when you're on the phone as well, there's someone else listening. You're always told there is someone listening, listening on your calls to make sure you're not saying nothing. But you can normally hear each other talking anyway. And it's horrible when you hear people talking to their kids and their wives. That's what I used to hate. And you can hear them going, "Don't worry, darling, Daddy will be home soon," and stuff like that. It's horrible hearing that.
You mentioned a few of your mates that you've lost, mate. Is there anyone that you'd like to speak about in a bit of detail?
All of them, to be quite honest, yeah. So Pritch, he was a Scots Dragoon Guard. Great big bloke. He was a corporal. He come into my troop when we started the R&R rotations. He come into our troop and was our troop corporal for a couple of weeks. What a lovely bloke he was. And he's the first mate I lost. Then Jake Cartwright, he's one of my best mates. He was in the army. He was the biggest joker you've ever met. A right laugh, centre of attention, just a nice bloke. Eddie, Steve Edwards, he lost his life with an IED strike, and he was a giant of a man. Everyone loved him. He was like the barman, so everyone liked the barman. Just a gentle giant. And Daz Flowers, he was a Remy lad attached to us. He died alone on the tank park. He got hit by I don't know if it's a rocket or a mortar. He shouldn't have been on his own. He was always meant to be in twos at Basel Palace. But him being a mechanic, he always wanted to go out and fix things. So he went down there and fixing something on his own, and sadly lost his life. And then there was Josh Hammond, or Hammy. He lost his life in Afghanistan. He was only 18 or 19 years old. I remember when he first got to the regiment, he was so young. He was my driver on the tank. And just was a good lad. He was a rubbish driver. We sort of swap positions. You know, that's what you do as a tanker. You swap positions. You show each other how to drive a tank properly, just like my loader had done for me, my mate Paul. And Lee Scott, he sadly lost his life. But great things have happened to honour his name. His wife set up Scotty's Little Soldiers, and his name lives on. And then lastly, my mate Albert, Brett Hall, he died. We didn't expect him to die. He was involved in an IED strike, and we got told he's broke his legs. And we was like, because it was towards the end of the tour, we was like, cheers, easy. He's going to get a nice payout, insurance and all that. It turns out it done a lot more damage than we thought, and he sadly died in hospital. Yeah.
So when it comes to remembering these blokes and remembrance in general, then how important is that to you? Did that affect your decision to join the Regimental Association?
To be fair, I've kind of like devoted my life to remembering my mates. There's not a day that goes past that I don't think of them. There's not a day that, every day I'm thinking of my time in the army. I just try and help others now, really. I try and get others, because it got to me a couple of years ago. I had a bit of a breakdown where I was bottling things up. I've always been a bit of a joker, and now I'm a bit more serious. You know, there's a time for joking, but there's a time for serious, and I'm trying to encourage people to talk a little bit, and it's working, because you can't bottle things up forever. You've got to talk about these things, and yeah.
I mean, how much of that, I guess, what I'm trying to say is the person that you were when you joined the army, how different a person are you now from that?
Yeah, completely different. I'm a lot more serious now. I'm sensitive now as well. I cry a lot at stupid things. For instance, a couple of years ago, I was on holiday and there was a bird show and there was a parrot, and they brought it out and it flew around the room, and they said a year ago this parrot was brought into us. It was in a cage and it couldn't even fly because it had never left the cage, and now it can fly. And I just started crying my eyes out. And I, as weird as it sounds, I almost felt like that was me. Like I felt like I was trapped in my own mind, my body. And now talking about it, it's allowed me to fly. And I talk about it a lot. And it's mad. I co-run a veterans group where I live in Stevenage called the Muster Point, and we meet every Tuesday. And I think we have about 25 people every Tuesday. And we've got blokes from Borneo, Northern Ireland, first Gulf War, all the conflicts since the Second World War. And something I've noticed is we're all the same. We've all got the same banter. And the stories might be different, but they're the same as well. And we all give each other shit. And that's what I love about it. We're so horrible to each other, but also care about each other at the same time.
Would you, if you knowing what you know now, would you go back and do it all again?
100%. Stupidly, yes, 100%. I loved it. I did. What I didn't like was getting out. That's what I did. The reason I got out was because my loyalty was always with Badger Squadron. I was a Badger boy. And when I was in Afghanistan with Egypt, I found out Badger were going out there. So I wanted to go back out there with Badger. And they said, no, you've got to have X amount of time off. I went, all right, I'll sign off then, because then you offer me whatever I want. And they didn't. They never get out. So, yeah. I don't regret getting out. I've had my ups and downs, but I'm doing all right.
Mate, anything else you want to say? Could be about anything.
No, I just encourage people to. I'd say join the associations, but a lot of them are boring. I totally get that. A lot of them are blazers and very formal. But join. You got your breakfast clubs, you got your football clubs, anything like that. Get involved in the podcast. Listen to podcasts. There's so many podcasts out there. You'll definitely find something that suits you. But just listening and talking, opening up, it helps. It helped me because I was at rock bottom. I was really bad. My wife said that, because I think when I first sort of hit rock bottom, I had a bit of time off work, and she said, like, she dreads when I'm at home. Not in a horrible way, but she goes, I just noticed you're different. You're not nice to be around no more. And hearing that, it's horrible. But now, she likes me again. But no, she didn't mean it in a horrible way, but she just noticed over the years, I found myself just staring at the carpet. She'd be watching Coronation Street, and I'm just sat there looking at the carpet, just thinking, tormenting myself. So, yeah, just, I say, speak up. Veterans are the best thing I think the best support for a veteran is another veteran. I really do. No matter what, even if they're RAF, we've all got the same mentality, that like-minded thing. We all just get on, you click. And
all right, mate. So just to kind of to wrap up, I guess, mate, you've seen arguably, certainly in my opinion, the most kinetic tours of Iraq and Afghanistan. How do you feel like they are remembered? If you think that they're remembered differently, if you think one's more remembered than the other, like, you take this any direction you want, mate.
Yeah, I do feel like Iraq is not forgotten, because people who were there, people who loved ones and friends and that will always know that they were there. But I do feel like Afghanistan will always be the forefront, whether that's because it lasted longer. It was a very kinetic and very busy tour, and there's a lot more footage of it. That's my opinion why it's sort of at the forefront. But I do feel like Iraq's been forgotten about. When you look at some of the Iraq tours, I know earlier on, I don't know what it was, but I think PWRR, they had there's a video of them having a massive firefight. And I know I spoke to a lad when I was in Colchester, I forgot his name now, but he was there, and he said their whole tour was so kinetic. That was up in, I thought it was that, just north of Basra anyway. Alamara, that was it. That was known as the Wild West. And when you look at the videos of Afghanistan, that was all like that. It's just that it wasn't captured because the technology wasn't there. Cameras were massive then. There weren't no such thing as a helmet camera or nothing like that. Digital cameras were really new in them days. So, yeah, you've got an Afghanistan Veterans Association. I'm not sure the actual name of it, but there isn't one for Iraq, as far as I'm aware. And I'm not going to start one, but I don't know if it's needed. But it's a shame. It does feel to me like it is a bit overshadowed. And I know some of my mates, they feel the ones who went to Iraq and not Afghanistan, they feel gutted they didn't go to Afghanistan, because all they've seen since they've got out is footage of Afghanistan, but Iraq has been pushed to one side. And in fact, I was at a party a little while ago, and there was a Gurkha, and he came up to me and he said, I've done 11 tours of Afghanistan or something. He goes, I wanted to go to Iraq. He goes, I wouldn't send us to Iraq. And some regiments just didn't go to Iraq and some didn't go to Afghanistan. It just seemed that way.
Do you think that having your operational experience acknowledged kind of nationally is important for a lot of blokes when it comes to processing their service and their mental health and so on?
I'd say the majority, yes. I know some people want to put it in a box and forget about it. If that's what they want to do, fine. But I think a lot of people, the days when regiments had come back from a tour and they'd marched through the town. I'm not saying they should do that now, but the flag waving, and it makes people feel proud, and they feel like, we have done something good. And there's a lot of negative press about the military, and it just overshadows all the good stuff they do. Around the world, I've got family in the forces now. They've been at Kenya, one's in Ukraine at the minute. They're doing good, but you don't hear about that.
Did you get any like you're saying about the parades through towns. Did you ever get anything like that on any of your tours?
Well, not really, kind of. So about a year after I got back from Telic 10, they decided they wanted to do it in a town called Trowbridge. So they got Tidworth Garrison together, put us on, let's go to stores and get new deserts, and then make out like we just come back off a tour and march through Trowbridge. And it was good. And the town set, the town hall put all these free beers for us. And then my mate Skid, we went and we was having a beer next to a tattoo shop. He went and got he wanted St. George written on the back of his neck, but there was an extra G put in there for some reason. So it's gibberish.
How about when you got your medals then? Did you get those on in like a ceremony?
No. My first time I went to Iraq, we just had a squadron parade, and then might have been a CO or someone come and give us a medal. So that was all right. It wasn't a big parade, just a squadron. The second time I went, Telic 10, I was on a gunnery course and I wasn't allowed to go on the medals parade. And then Herrick 10, I'd been moved to another squadron, and again I didn't get a medals parade, so there was none of that. And it did. When I left the army, it made me bitter. It really made me bitter.
Do you feel lucky or unlucky to have served at the time that you did and did the operations that you did?
See, my breakfast club, all the older blokes, the ones who done donkey's years in Northern Ireland, all they go about is, oh, you boys got to do some proper fighting. Blah, blah, blah. But I'm glad I've done what I would say is proper soldiering, like what you see in the films, that sort of soldiering. I'm glad I didn't have to go to Northern Ireland in the 70s and 80s like some of them blokes did, fighting people that you don't even know who the enemy are, the horrific stories I went through. And now, all of a sudden, they're getting the threat of having to go back through the courts. So, yeah, I'd say I am glad I served in the time I did.
You mentioned something earlier, mate, about how you're a bit more sensitive these days. I find that with a lot of veterans, myself included. What's the reason for that, do you think? Where does that come from, that raised sensitivity?
I don't know. You know what? I was heartless when I was in the army. I shot a sheep once on a tank range just because I could. I thought nothing of it. That breaks my heart to think I've done it. Now, when I walk down the road, if I see a snail or a worm on a path and the sun's coming up, I'll move them into shade. But I say I'm completely heartless when I was younger. But after leaving the army, for something happened. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's me and my missus and getting married. I don't know. But yeah, I've become a bit of a softie.
Yeah, I feel the same way, mate. Like when I think of some of the things I shot with an air rifle as a younger bloke, and you're like,
yeah.
I did like little birds and things, mate. And just I think now I'm like, oh God, I'd love to go back and kick that bloke's head in. Like it was me, but I want to.
Yeah.
But do you think maybe, like, especially like losing mates and being around death and things, do you think that's giving you a great appreciation, not just for your own life, but just life?
I think
in general.
Yeah, I think it has. I've got especially more recently, I'm trying to make the most of my life because my friends can't. And meeting, I've met many of their family. A lot of them, I've struggled to make contact with them, but the ones I have, it's they're just so. I don't know. They do inspire me to the way they move on and celebrate their lives. I do try and make the most of my life now.
Yeah, and like with the Breakfast Club and everything, is that something how did you get into it? Like, is that something that you came up with, or you went along to what? Like, how did you get started?
So, a few years ago, I just wanted to do a bit more. I've always done the poppy appeal, and I just found I enjoyed doing it, but I'm only collecting money. I wanted to do a bit more. I wanted to help. But people was coming and asking for advice, and I said, I can't give you advice. So anyway, I volunteered for SAFA, so I'm a SAFA caseworker. So on my spare time, that's what I do, and it's actually rewarding because I actually help people. Done on my training and that. Through there, I got told, go and speak to this bloke who lives near you. He works for a charity called CGL, which is drugs and alcohol support, addiction support. He does a a veteran-specific group. So when I met him, we just got on really well. His name's Stu Mendelson. He served in Afghanistan on Hemik 11. He got blown up and lost his eye. He had his own issues when he got out with, like a lot of people, he got blown up, got given loads of money and then sort of just discarded. So he ended up with his own problems. But anyway, we got on really well. We both said there's not much in North Hertfordshire where we live for veterans. So we said, let's start a breakfast club. And I think both of us sort of was hoping the other one would do all the work. But one day he texted me, he said, come on, let's get this thing started. And we did. And we spoke to the local council. And that was brilliant. The local council were amazing. They gave us funding. So we weren't expecting anything. But we had a meeting and they said, we can fund you for 2 hours every Tuesday. Plus we can give you a budget for hot food because there's a cafe next door. We couldn't believe it. So Stu, he's very creative. He sent me a list of names. He said, what name do you reckon? And one of them was the muster point. And I said, that's brilliant. I said, because for me, people who haven't served don't really know what that means. If you Google it, normally comes up like, actually, if you Google it, it comes up with us. But it did come up with like a fire assembly point. But a muster point in the military means the meeting place. And I said, then we can have wherever we go, whether it's in a pub, in a cafe, anywhere we go, the muster point is here. So that's what we come up with. From there, we've done a podcast. We do events now. We've got a big remembrance ball. Remembrance Sunday, the days leading up to that, we're doing a 24-hour Guard of Honour at the War Memorial where we live. So we've got all the old boys, blokes in their 90s. We're going to do like a stag. So there's going to be a 24/7 sentry at the War Memorial. And that's with the cadets as well. So we're getting the younger generations involved, sort of sharing each other's stories and, hopefully not recruit the younger generation, but inspire them to want to join up for the right reasons.